also be conducted by audio and video conference without the requirement of a physically present quorum of the Rock Island City Council due to the disaster declaration issued by Governor Pritzker. Because of this order related to COVID-19 health concerns affecting the state and the city, the mayor has determined that an in-person meeting at City Hall with all participants may be practical or prudent. Alderpersons and staff may not all be physically present at City Hall due to the disaster, and physical attendance at City Hall may be limited. To participate remotely during the public comment or public hearing portion of the meeting, please join by phone at 1-478-974-7133, PIN 774-907-642#.
Thank you very much. Roll call.
Alderman Robinson. Hurt. Gilbert.
Present.
Swanson.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Poulos.
Here.
Geenan.
Here.
Mayor Tomes.
Here. Is there anybody for public comment? Anybody in the audience or virtually wish to speak? I'm not seeing any or hearing any.
Nobody in here.
All right. We wanted item number, actually, we need a motion to adjust the agenda.
Move to adjust the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and the discussion is we want to take item number 7 and move it in front of number 5, and then we'll continue after we, from there. So, do a roll call, please.
I don't think we need to do another roll call.
We don't need a roll call to adjust the
Nope.
agenda, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we do.
Point of order, though, we have a.
We do.
Alderman.
Okay.
Robinson.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay. Alderman Poulos.
Yes.
Keenan.
Yes.
Robinson.
Aye.
Hurt. Gilbert. Aye. Swanson. Aye. Parker.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we could start off with the Illinois Extension, and they can introduce themselves, and we'll begin the strategic planning.
Hey, I'm Jenny Garner. I'm County Director for the Extension Unit Serving with the Rock Island County.
Is there any chance they can speak in front of the microphone?
Yeah.
We have a handheld one. Tim's getting it.
Okay.
Didn't think about that.
I'm
Flip it
Jenny
around.
Garner, County Director for University of Illinois Extension serving Henry, Mercer, and Rock Island counties.
I'm Russell Medley, I'm Community and Economic Development Educator for University.
So we have a couple of ground rules to go over. We work for the University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana, and we have a mask mandate. So during the process here, we ask that you wear your masks at all times, over nose and mouth. That's a strict requirement of the university, and if possible, as you're moving around, try to keep 6-foot social distancing. That's a requirement of Extension. Okay? And sorry I'm dumping us in, but we have a limited amount of time to work with you on this, and we do have a process. I ask that you trust the process. We do not belabor points. We will not allow you to do that. We have a set amount of time to work on our different items. So we're the land grant system. So President Abraham Lincoln, when he was president, saw that there was a need to get university research out to the people. And so the land grant system was formed. And that's our role. We're field operations for the university. Everything we do is research-based. So we're not making any of this up. It's all based and grounded in research. Typically, we have a lot of different programming area. I won't take your time on there. Typically, when we've done strategic planning, it has been for small rural communities. So the curriculum that we use is called Vision to Action. It's an extension curriculum. And then Russell is also trained in Stronger Economies Together, which is designed for rural communities. Those are the curriculums that we'll be using this evening. So we promise you that we'll take a maximum of 3 hours this evening. We understand we're starting at 5 on Monday. We'll take a maximum of 3 hours on Monday evening, and we will be done with our process with you. The SWOT analysis was conducted by Bi-State, so these 2 nights will get us done. Okay?
Okay.
All right. and then eventually you'll get a document from us.
We-
Okay.
We have a third session scheduled next Friday.
We don't need it.
Oh.
That was the SWOT. And the SWOT was completed, so we don't need that session. Now, if you want to use it for yourself, you're welcome to do that.
Okay, just a little bit about the time frame. And Mayor, I'm so sorry I did not get this emailed to Randy, and all the materials that everyone's going to be looking at and you don't get to see. I'm so sorry about that. But from our understanding, what you're doing is this is a 3-year goal-setting process. So you're looking from January 2022 through, what would be, 2024. So that coincides with ARPA, when you have to have everything spent as well. We are looking at, like we said, looking at 3 to 5 goals for the next 3 years. So you could have 3 goals, you could have 4 goals, you could have 5 goals. But my understanding and what was told to us was you wanted a limitation on the number of goals that you were going to tackle for the next 3 years. The other thing, action steps. So the action steps that are going to be created are for starting with January 1st, 2022 and in December 31st, 2022. So there are 1-year action steps. So that's what the action plan will be for next year. So those are kind of what we're going with for this planning session. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jenny with the mission statement and the vision statement.
So, if you would like to take one of these,
Are those our existing mission statements and vision statements?
correct. We're starting with that.
I can text you a picture of it, Mayor, if you'd like.
That'd be great, please.
Okay.
I didn't bring a pen. Anybody got a spare pen?
I do.
Got one?
You want to mark it?
Depends.
Is it a blue pen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm good.
Okay,
Mark.
You said that this is our existing one? 'Cause
yes. So let me start at the top. When you creating effective mission
Thanks for moving
statements,
back.
and
I'll take
again,
that.
remember, we're following our vision to action curriculum. So an effective mission statement, and forgive me for reading to you, but it's realistic and to the point. It's not a slogan. It's not a branding statement. It's non-technical. It's clear and concise. It's believable and reflects your values. It makes the group distinct and unique, and it allows people in the community to see how they fit in. So when you're evaluating this statement, which I'm going to explain to you how you're going to do, keep in mind that this is something for your staff. It's an internal mission statement. It's not an external branding statement. This is something your staff need to be able to say to you, need to be able to remember. So don't make it a tomb. Make it something that fits this criteria, but it's short and gets to the point, okay? So your current mission statement is, Rock Island City government is financially sound and provides the best services in the Quad Cities. So what I'd like you to do is evaluate your statement. Take a few minutes, check yes, no, somewhat, okay? Okay, now if you've got that done, I'd like you to move on. And individually, based on your evaluation of the statement, what changes could you make? And I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that, and then we'll take your suggestions.
Do you mean like specific things that we would like to see, or more broad sort of conceptual changes?
Of the current statement?
Say it again.
Sorry, you finished Dylan's.
It can be either.
Okay.
Remember, you're answering these questions, and so think about how you want to change it. Why? Is it because of the realistic or slogan, non-technical?
Okay.
So I'll give you about a couple minutes to work on that.
reason why we would want to change it.
We are perfectly fine if you want to keep it exactly the same. We're just following the process.
No, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah,
Not why, but changes you would make.
That's right.
Yeah, not why you want to change, just
For
what-
example,
what-
perhaps we should.
What changes would you want to make to your mission statement?
Okay.
We're not going to get into a debate of why.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, maybe another minute.
Do you have an extra one? Do you have an extra one?
Okay, so now without debate, that is another ground rule I forgot to mention. The way the strategic planning process goes well is when we're allowed to state what we think or provide information without judgment. And I'm sure you've heard this before when you've done it. So with that, if you have changes, what changes would you see? And Russell will capture those for us. You can, whoever would like to start. Judith?
So, I think it's important to remember for our mission that it's our duty and our privilege to serve the residents of Rock Island.
Another change, Jenny?
So had mine as, City of Rock Island is financially sound, provides quality services to residents, providing a great place to live, work, and play.
Okay. So an expansion on, instead of the best place to live or the greatest place to live. Dylan, did you have a change? Provides quality services to the people,
To residents,
providing
a great place to live, work, and play.
Dylan?
Russell, are you ready? Because I have
You have a statement too?
one to read off as well.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, my recommended mission statement, because I think we can improve from our current one, is that Rock Island is a vibrant city that uses its strengths in diversity and...
Stop.
Yep.
Is a vibrant city that uses its strengths and diversity.
Yep.
Okay, continue. Keep going. Start again and
Yep.
we'll capture it from there.
Rock Island is a vibrant city that uses its strengths in diversity and discovery to inspire the creativity and innovation within its residents, businesses, and visitors.
Okay. Just give him a second to catch up. Mark, what did you have?
I say, I have it is the goal of Rock Island to be financially stable and to celebrate our history and our diversity.
Okay, so celebrate history and diversity, and you say financially is a goal. It's not part of the mission.
No, it's our goal to do all of those,
Okay.
because I think we lack in each of those areas.
Okay, Dave, what else did you?
To celebrate our history and our diversity. And again, the reason I use goal is because, again, if we're lacking in it now, this is what we strive to be, not where
So,
we are right now.
let me stop you, Mark. We're not working on goals right now. We're working on the mission. So the mission is something that.
Mission is to achieve those.
Is it to achieve goals, that's right. And so the mission is an internal statement that your staff can remember and provide that back to you. Okay, Dave.
So, I would add, in terms of where Dylan is, when he said, is a city that uses, I would use the word leverages. Leverages, and then instead of financially sound, I would change things of using more positive tones in terms of efficient, optimized, or lean, in terms of.
Efficient, optimized, or
Or like
what?
lean, in terms of lean, L-E-A-N, like a
Oh,
lean
like
machine.
lean manufacturing?
Lean, we're a lean machine, we're saving money, we're
Oh, lean machine.
lean,
okay.
yeah, efficient, optimized, we're saving money, we're doing the best we can. Because the ultimate goal I would add is we need a customer service, it's not this public service, it's the customers.
Okay, good. Moses? Shaking your head, no changes.
And I would only
I mean,
add
I
the sector with the nonprofit sector, sorry, Alderman Robinson, when you had the visitors and residents and businesses, I think, just all the fabric of society.
Rock Island is a vibrant city that uses or leverages is fine its strengths in diversity and discovery to inspire the creativity and innovation within its residents, visitors, businesses. Sure, if you
Whatever you want to say, like all who are involved in the fabric of our society, because we're not going to catch everyone.
Yeah.
With mission and vision, and Russell moves on, I'm going to try to wordsmith some of this that you've provided to us, and
It's great.
you'll have those,
Yeah.
okay?
Cool.
Because otherwise, we'll get bogged down here.
Right.
Moses?
So I'm prepared, I'm sorry. I didn't know, were we supposed to have this beforehand?
No, we just did it just now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't come up with anything.
That's all right.
I want to see some changes, but I didn't come up with the alternative.
And that is perfectly fine. That is okay. Judith, did you have anything else to add?
Well, I had one written. I didn't know that we were going to do the whole thing.
Well, go for it.
So mine is to embody our duty and privilege to serve the
Stop. To embody what?
our duty and
privilege.
privilege
We try to write fast, but
to serve the residents of Rock Island
Nuance. There's nuance.
and provide them the highest quality services in the most fiscally responsible manner.
okay, Mayor, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Yes, let's try Rock Island City strives to be financially sound
Stop.
and provide.
Stop.
Oops,
Stop.
Excuse me.
And just put FS. I'll know what that means. Russell, strives to be FS. I'll know what it means. Just put FS. Strives to be FS. Okay, go ahead, Mayor.
Fiscally sound. Okay, yeah, let's see, the Rock Island City government strives to be financially sound and provide the best services to its citizens and businesses.
Okay, so thank you for that, and thank you for sticking with me on the process. Just an observation, this is not judgmental. Some of it is a little long, long. Remember, as I go to try to wordsmith, it's not saying I'm right, okay? I'm trying to take your ideas and make it something that staff can remember. So I think you're well on your way. So I'll probably come up with a couple options for us to come back and look at, okay? Now, the next thing we're gonna do is work on the vision. Same process.
Thank you.
You're going to look at your current vision statement, which is on the, and then evaluate. So an effective vision statement is future-oriented and also fits the organization's history and culture. So future-oriented, but it also doesn't forget your history and culture. It reflects your values. It sets standards of excellence. It clarifies your purpose and direction. It reflects the uniqueness of yourselves, and it's ambitious. So your current vision statement is there. Take a few moments to evaluate, yes, no, or somewhat, and then what changes would you make?
Could we pause and just, could you speak to what the difference between a vision and a mission is?
Thank you. A mission statement is an internal statement that your staff can remember, that you can remember, that grounds you to who you are. The vision statement is from which everything else we're going to do this evening comes. So the vision is your heart and soul and brain and all of it. It's who you are. Sorry, thank you, Russell. It's what you want to be. Ooh. Sorry, the mission is more like who you are. The vision is what you want to be.
Because I know you've done this work too. So, but a vision is not necessarily like a tagline for the city.
No.
I just
No.
want to make that clear.
Yeah, no slogans.
Well, you did a plan that went out to, what was it,
2032.
so you had a vision. What does Rock
And
Island
it's here.
look like in 2032? What is your vision for Rock Island?
And I have that on the paper for you to look at. Sorry, Russell, I didn't mean to stop. Just like another minute. Okay, what did we come up with? I know this one takes a little bit longer. I think what might be a little more efficient, because the vision statements are considerably longer, is Russell will just capture some themes that he's hearing, but I'll take those documents with me and try to do a little wordsmithing in the back of the room while you move on, and we'll come back to both. Okay? Let's see, I'm gonna start with Dylan. You put your pen down. No, Jenny put her pen down first.
I did. I actually like our vision statements. I just had some changes. So basically, Rock Island is a growing city with a vibrant downtown and business districts. So instead of livable neighborhoods, I changed it to business districts.
Business district, okay?
Or districts, multiple.
Business districts, that's what you just need to capture.
And then on the second line, I put Rock Island respects, I added culture.
Value
Cap-
and culture.
Yep. And then on the third line, where it says our citizens enjoy quality homes, I changed that to livable neighborhoods.
Livable neighborhoods, Russell.
That's the change, those are all mine.
Great, thank you, Jenny. Dylan, I think you were next to have your pen down.
Well, my vision,
Not that it's a competition, sorry. Go ahead, Dylan.
my vision for the city of Rock Island is a city where all have the ability to create and realize their potential.
All have the ability to create and realize their potential. And then I'm going to come back to Judith.
Okay, so, a community noted for its standards of excellence, and I'll touch on that in a minute, and welcoming and united in passion for its culture, diversity, history, amenities. Oh, sorry, Russell. And the people who live, work, and play there. I'll go slowly. And when I talk about standards of excellence, you said by like 2032, I want us to win the Malcolm Baldrige Excellence Award. And that idea originally came from Bill.
So can you read it again?
Yeah,
So
a
Russell can-
community noted for its standards of excellence.
I think I got in the cut.
That's it.
Okay, and welcoming and united in passion. Passion. Our residents have so much passion for Rock Island. For its culture, diversity, history, amenities, and the people who live, work, and play here.
Okay, Mayor.
Yes, actually, mine was very close to Jenny Swanson's, except for in the last part of it where it's our citizens enjoy, and she talked about livable neighborhoods, or that I would add in, back in, and places for enjoyment and fun. So just add places for enjoyment and fun, or something like that with Jenny's.
And Jenny, I got to come back here. It's Rock Island Growing Vibrant Business District or Downtown District? I wasn't sure.
It's a growing city with a vibrant downtown and business districts, and vibrant business districts.
Okay. I see Russell wants to capture that, so yeah. Okay, Dave.
So I would add, so I would say Rock Island is all in on inclusive and equitable smart growth. with an identified cornered market industry, whether that be, tech or whatever that might be.
Your niche?
Yeah, industry, And then I think I would just kind of wrap it all up by saying, and is committed to being a city of service, which is, the whole idea of being engaged in civic life. We are residents that develop their skills, their ability, and their motivation to actually make the city work. So that's what the city of service model is. So buy into it and actually practice it. So, it's that we are committed to being a, quote, city of service. The Illinois Commission of Volunteerism and Community Service encourages all of the local communities to be the global coalition, so.
Committed to service.
That's how we can build civic
Engagement.
participation.
Yeah.
If it's part of our, we can't do anything without civic participation. That's all.
Very good. Moses?
I don't have anything.
Okay. And then Mark?
Earl, last but certainly least,
Not least, it's never least.
that was a joke, sorry. Rock Island is a growing city with livable neighborhoods and business potential. Is a growing city with livable neighborhoods and business potential. Again, I wouldn't change the Rock Island respects diversity and history. I would change our citizens enjoy quality homes and places for affordable family entertainment.
Places for affordable family entertainment.
And business potential. And then our citizens enjoy quality homes and places for, and I would add in there, I would take out enjoyment and fun and just insert the words affordable family entertainment.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
at the end, you said you were gonna kind of wordsmith these a little bit. So they're gonna be represented to us and then we decide kind of what we want to go with?
Yes.
I guess I'm trying to figure out the process, so.
Yes, that's it. What you just stated is exactly what we'll do. So,
It takes me a little bit, so that's, I mean, I can't think that fast on my feet.
The only
Right.
We're
other,
gonna do that tonight.
going to try.
Right, okay,
If Russell needs me, I'll have to abort and bring it back, but,
okay.
so if I could take your papers and you can get yours,
My initials.
yeah. We'll take them with us tonight, so we can,
Yeah, but just when you come back.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I didn't write my initials on that one.
I know you were, the strategic plan was for the next 3 years, 5 years.
You want our names on those?
3
So it
years.
doesn't matter, does it?
Statement of vision, constrained by that time.
Have at it.
the,
No,
we were told 3 years for goals and objectives, which would tie to the mission vision,
I put Dylan's name on
and then 1 year for actions.
I don't want ownership of that.
2032.
Yeah, we don't know any about that stuff. Yeah.
The old plan. So the old plan.
I just want to make sure.
And it's identical to Moline's plan.
I just have them like unprepared or something.
30 minutes ahead of schedule.
I guess I just don't like.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to revisit the SWOT analysis that you did over the last week. And I do have the counts here, and I typed it up so it's more readable than what's on here. And you see we counted the votes to see what your top 3 or top 5, because a lot of your votes were tied.
It's 4, 5, 6, Russell.
Okay. All right. So we looked at the top, and those are marked in blue. And that's in each: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I did bring the sheets here, if you remember what happened last week. And so we collected the information, and I'm not sure, I heard there were some questions about what happened with the SWOT or the process. And so I wanted to open it up to you guys and say, was there something you did not like about doing the SWOT? Or was there something that was not explained clearly? Yes.
Well, one of the things we were told was that even after we voted, and then you prioritized them based on the number of votes, that we could come back tonight, and if we felt something else was more important, we could change that.
If you see, yes, if there's something there that you think, and if you want to discuss it, and if everyone agrees, and you think it should be moved up, we can definitely do that. So I guess I'll give you a chance to go through that and see what's on there.
My only thought, I'm satisfied with all of them, except when we were discussing opportunities, I was having a difficult time distinguishing what we mean by opportunities. Like, for example, rebuilding neighborhoods, landscaping streets, sidewalks. Like, yeah, obviously there's an opportunity that we could do that,
Right.
but what exists outside of us that is giving us an opportunity to actually do that? That's how I understand an opportunity.
Yeah, an opportunity is an external.
Yeah, like the ARPA funds is an opportunity because it's $26.5 million that we didn't expect to have, so it's
Right.
an opportunity.
With flexibility, yeah.
But rebuilding neighborhoods, I just want to make sure that we have consensus, so we understand, like, what do we mean by opportunity, I guess.
Right, right.
Well,
Go ahead, Judith.
yeah, he raises a good point. So, yeah, you may have an opportunity, but do we have the money to do
Right.
X, Y, Z?
Right, right.
Would be a factor, I would think.
Because these will be things that we are looking to do within 3 years.
You're going to use those to set your goals for the next 3 years. So there's another step. So you're going to look at that and say, looking at the strengths, looking at the weaknesses and the opportunities coming down the pike from maybe outside that Rock Island, or the threats that are outside of Rock Island, that are coming from outside. Is there something there? Can we create a goal? Can we tackle this? Is this something we want to do over the next 3 years? Can we get it done in 3 years?
Are we talking current opportunities, or are we talking sustainable opportunities?
You're talking about what, in my mind, the opportunities that are presenting themselves right now, because you're not going to know what's coming in the future, but hopefully they be sustainable.
So the opportunity would be for perhaps the deployment of $26 million that results in a more equitable, inclusive Rock Island with a growing job disparity between something like that.
Yes.
Okay. That's the opportunity to use that 26 to make a real change.
Yes. I guess another opportunity that might have been pointed out was infrastructure bill. If something ever happens with the infrastructure bill, that would be an opportunity for cities to get more money.
Build their neighborhoods.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So that would be a opportunity that you don't actually have a lot of control over, but it's coming down the pike, maybe. Yeah.
So were we going to have the opportunity now, after we review this, to sit and write what 5 goals we think we should?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. I'm just putting this out there.
so that we have it in front of
Yes,
us.
so
Yeah.
the SWOT is where you pull your goals from. So I guess I could pass this out right now. Oh,
I got
yes,
a question.
Moses.
So I guess I'm still trying to wrap my head around the 3-year goal. How do we do that if we don't know financially where we are able to even spend money on? Shouldn't we have some idea of what we have financially, what we can do? Because, I mean, we can be making a wish list and don't have any money to do anything, and then we're stuck with goals for 3 years without the opportunity to do it because we don't have the funds to do it.
Right, that's why I always said that we should do the strategic planning in conjunction with the budget and after the budget's been set, but I was overruled.
But maybe you've identified a goal.
Yeah, that
Because
could be a goal.
we do the same budget process, and all it does is result in deficit budgets. But if we looked at rethinking our budget process and rethinking opportunities, then maybe we would have money to do something else.
Yeah, I think one of the points in the SWOT, or I think it was a threat or it was a weakness, is that projects need to be tied to budgeting, or there needs to be budget analysis done. And so that is very true. That could be a goal for the next 3 years. And that's if you want it. If the city council wants to write a goal and focus on that for the next 3 years and getting that implemented and achieved, you can definitely do that.
Can we just have an open discussion, or?
Go ahead.
So I
Yes.
I guess I have a question then, Alderwoman Swanson, or, not directly toward you. I guess for us, are we gonna waste our time setting goals if we don't know what the budget is? Because we're about to spend 3 hours today, 3 hours on Monday, and we have no idea what the budget is, so we can come up with wonderful goals, but we don't know what we financially, fiscally can actually afford to do.
And I think I would add, and beyond that, when we had the community needs assessment on Monday, that was just for the West End, that was 200 pages. We have the opportunity to use the funding to actually do a comprehensive, full analysis, community needs assessment and needs analysis and unmet needs. So then perhaps we might need to know what's going on, you know what I
Right.
mean? So I think both and.
So I think part of my issue is we have basic needs that have to be met by the city. So there are obligations that you have to fund by law. And then once those are funded, then you look at what you have left over. And my vision is then you can take our strategic analysis or plan that we have, look at those unallocated funds, and how do you take those funds and allocate them towards your strategic plan? And which is why you only need like 3 or 5, because you can't do 20 of them. And which one of those can you achieve like in year 1, year 2, and year 3 based on the funding and the workload to do it?
Got it. I mean, I get that, so I guess I'm just posing a question. Are we wasting our time doing this without the budget?
So,
Yes.
in response to your question, and I've been saying this since January, I think it shows the need for one of our goals needs to be to develop a long-term sustainable financial plan. We don't have a financial plan. We don't analyze how we spend the money every year. It's pretty much take last year's budget, subtract so much, and on and on. We don't look at where we're losing money even, and eliminate those things from the budget.
But part of our issue with our budget, because we are a municipality and we don't have a product, we are a service, so like 75 to 80%, 75 to 77% of our budget will always go to staff and employees, always. There's no way you're going to change that unless you cut staff.
Right.
So you're only looking at probably 25% of your budget that you're actually able to do anything with.
And a good part of that then left over is the police and fire pension.
Okay.
So I disagree with that because at my last night's Third Ward Citizen Advisory Council, a financial expert in the community presented that the city has an opportunity perhaps to sell water to Milan. Milan needs water, we have it. They want to get out of their water business. The other opportunity there is, we have a mutual aid agreement with them. They have a volunteer fire department, if I'm not mistaken. We're basically their fire department. Though, and that's been proven in the last two major commercial fires they had. They had no water, and we did most of the work. That agreement is coming due. Why are we not looking at something that is more beneficial to the city, both in selling them water and in getting reimbursed for the services we're providing to them? And I've heard other people give me examples like that throughout our entire city operations.
Okay.
The last time I heard, Mylan was not interested in our water. That's the last time we talked to him.
Well, I just want us to come to an agreement of this process we're about to do right now, the goals. If it's not feasible, I mean, it's feasible, but I mean, if it's not really practical to do it without having an idea on what's left over in the budget, are we gonna waste our time tonight and Monday setting goals without having an idea of what we really can spend money on? So what is another option for us to more, I guess, to make this beneficial?
I would normally agree with you on that, but I think the fact that we have the ARPA funds, that we can move forward with the strategic planning, and then once we look at our budgeting process and what's left over, then we have this extra influx of funds that we can use to help implement the strategic plan for the next 3 years.
So I guess that's what I was asking. To come up with a plan to execute this,
Right.
instead of coming up with goals with just, again, making a wish list.
Right, but that's what you're gonna end up doing is the wish list, and then hopefully with ARPA funds, we can fund that wish list and make it happen.
You gotta remember, some funds that could be available or reworked, just, once again, they spend money on weed control, we spend money on striping the streets, we spend money on, yard waste, or we spend money on different things that, have been going on for years. Those can be evaluated. Is that a focus or not? And I'm not saying it should be, but if we're saying aesthetically we want to look good, then we need to emphasize, keep those on there. But you can reallocate, so to speak, funds that are out there, what we think have been basic things ongoing.
But I guess I'm sorry, Coach, even if we don't have an actual budget here in front of us, if we have a dollar amount, say you have $1 million that you can probably spend on the goals or whatever, that gives us a little bit more leeway to when you're deciding on what you want to focus on for the next 3 to 5 years, or 3 years. But to just have nothing in front of you, that it kind of just, it's not clear to me.
Well, here,
For all practical purposes, there is no money to be spent on. We run very close to the dollars that we have available to us right now we're just doing the basics that we've done all last year. If we follow exactly last year, there basically is no money left over to do things that are new.
I think it depends.
Just jump in here really quick. Some of the things that you're talking about, Russell and I don't necessarily disagree with. We're not sure that this is necessarily the right step in the process. The themes we noticed is ARPA. We can't help you with that. We know that, right? We noticed community marketing, internal communications. What was the other one? Economic development and placemaking.
Yeah, so what I put in front of you is I took the SWOT and I looked at some of the issues that I thought were big for you and what by state told me there was a conversation about, and I attempted to write goals. They may not be what you want. It's an example, and these may not be the goals at all. And what you're talking about, I mean, I just gave you examples. So what we wanted to do tonight is have you look at the goals and determine what your 3 to 5 goals are, and they do not have to be these at all. This is example. We did not want to come in blank without anything in front of you to see how a goal is written or what should be done.
Even,
We are open, if this is not the right time for us to do this, it doesn't hurt, our feeling will not be hurt whatsoever.
so even without a budget,
We have tonight and Monday night, so keep in mind, we've got till 7 o'clock and we've got 3 hours on Monday. So I would move off the dime here, would be my suggestion, sorry.
But
Okay,
we
no, wait, wait,
really, we
no.
can't though. I mean, because we really need to have a discussion to figure out how we're gonna move ahead instead of just
Moses.
rushing to something. And that's the problem. We don't want to rush for something. So if we don't have the time, we need to schedule more time somewhere else. But I think this is a discussion we need to have, because I just don't feel comfortable with setting goals and not knowing if we really can do it.
I don't disagree.
Because I'm putting more pressure on my staff who can't do the goals that I'm putting in front of them without funds to follow that. So I think this discussion is much needed, and I understand we want to value your time, so I'm not trying to disrespect it at all, but I think this is a discussion we haven't had, and I think it's needed at this moment, just to at least to give us to this point, so we can have an understanding of what we are really doing going forward.
So perhaps
Am
you
I-
guys should use this time to have this discussion, and then you can get back with us.
So-
You know, if that's what you want to do, we're okay with that. I'm just offering you options.
Moses, without a budget even, we can identify the priorities, which we have been doing in these discussions we've been having since May. We've identified that communication, we have major problems, internal and externally with communication. We have identified technology issues for the city. We've identified that we have financial problems. We've identified that maybe how we're doing things maybe not be the best way to do them. We've talked about enterprise transformation. That was actually a goal of Randy Tweet's in April, from what I understand. So, Dylan?
I just want to make a comment that I'm just speaking my mind, so
No.
I'm looking for feedback from everybody. If we
So-
feel that we want to move forward with doing the goals, I'm just speaking my opinion at this moment, and looking for some feedback from my colleagues.
I have pulled all the strategic plans back decades and looked at them. And for all of the strategic plans, for the most part, our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are predominantly always the same. So I think we can move forward with our strategic planning as an overall framework for what we want to do, and then have it kind of put together, the framework of it put together. And then when we get the budgeting process, which will be October, November, then we can kind of go ahead and at that point mesh the budget with the strategic plan that we already have put together. And we may need to tweak that strategic plan a bit if the money doesn't come out the way we can to fund it. But I think going through the exercise now to just kind of get a framework of a strategic plan is great. And then once we get the budget process, then we could, at that point, you've got your plan, you've got your budget, and then you can kind of try to merge them together and tweak it a bit to see if it's possible or if it's not possible. But seriously, our SWOT analysis was the same in the 80s as it is now.
Okay.
Reflecting on what you're saying, Moses, I have been reflecting a lot on strategic planning. I've been reading a lot about strategic planning, and I've come to the conclusion that strategic planning is not, us dictating to staff here to the decimal point what we're going to do, right? And that's largely how we've been operating, a very centralized decision-making process that the city council makes in a meeting like this, which we dictate to the city manager, who and it's always been a he, manages through a command and control hierarchical structure to tell Miles, or whatever, Miles is just the example here, that you need to go do this, right? And I think the very way in which we approach this is part of the problem as to why we can never accomplish a lot of our goals. I mean, if you look at last year's action steps, most of them have not been done. And not for the failure of our staff, but I think largely because of the way in which we make decisions and the way in which management operates within the city of Rock Island. And so I don't particularly want to sit here tonight and say, okay, by July, CED will have this specific program in place, right? Because we have no budget, we have no capacity, we have no knowledge of management, their capacity, whatever. However, for me, focusing on the word strategy, we need to put a lot more thought into what is our actual strategy. Because a lot of our goals are things like expanding economy. But that's not a goal. That's the outcome of doing a goal, right? And like a business's goal is not to make money, right? Making money is the result of knowing who their customer is and targeting their customer and getting them to buy something that they actually value. So I would say that it would be helpful for us to think about what do people actually get out of value of being located within the city of Rock Island? What gets people to move here, like myself? I moved here as an adult, I guess a young adult, whatever. Really thinking strategically, what differentiates us from Davenport? Why did I move here from Davenport, right? And then using that framework to then give to our staff and say, here's the strategy. What parts of the work that the city does fits into that strategy? And then it sort of goes down the line of everybody thinking, wait a minute, is this adding value to any customer? I'm gonna argue a lot of it's gonna be no. I just do something because my boss tells me to do it, right? So that's a lot that I just blurted out there. But I would find that discussion much more valuable than reform inspections division, right? Well, what does that mean, right? So I don't know. I'll stop talking.
Well, and I agree with you on that, because I think our role as council is the equivalent of a board of directors. We set strategy, we set policy. You can't necessarily do strategic planning without your department directors, because we can sit there and say, okay, over our vision and our goals over the next 3 years are these very high level things. And then you need the division directors here to say, okay, within those, these we can do, these we can't do. These we tried to do 5 years ago and it didn't. I mean, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel, but having them as part of the strategic plan. And I'm disappointed that they aren't here, because I don't think they were invited.
They're scheduled for Monday night.
They're for Monday night, okay. But because, I mean, we, like Dylan said, we can put together a great plan, but if it is not able to be implemented by the people, it's gonna fail. I mean, it's just not doable.
Okay, so I think it sounds like a lot of you are saying that you don't have enough data to actually do strategic planning. You don't have the right information, you don't have the right people in the room.
Well, I think one thing we're saying is that, to kind of point on what you mentioned before, our SWOT has been the same since the 80s. So we want to stop doing the same stuff and not getting a different result. So we want to get a different result by possibly doing something different. To point what
Right.
Dylan was saying. I mean, with having the directors and the staff here, we get a better buy-in, because then they're part of the process from the beginning all the way through.
Okay.
I mean, I've been in them situations. I'm pretty sure my colleagues have been in them situations. It's easy for me to dictate, but then it's hard for someone to follow me just dictating. If they have a true voice and an opinion in the process, it's a complete buy-in. Because then you have people truly working on the mission instead of just doing the job because I told them to do the job. So
And
I think that's the difference. We want to change the process.
And if you look at the agenda, I think we can continue to move forward tonight with what you are planning to do, because, we're gonna look at 3 to 5 goal statements and develop each objectives, and that's fine, that's our plan to put together. And then Monday, if the directors are gonna be here, then we can go ahead and work with them and expand on those. And it might be that Monday night we find out that one of our goals isn't feasible, and it needs to be adjusted
Right.
based on their input. But I think to continue tonight doing what we were going to do is good, because then that way we have something to present and discuss with staff on Monday.
So, listening to you talk, I'm wondering, do you have any of those high-level goals that you might want, that might not, that I didn't cover or don't come out of the slide? Could you talk in your mic? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But are there some high-level goals. I mean, one of your goals is ARPA. I put that, so I don't know if I've written it correctly or anything like that. You're going to hire a consultant. I understand that. There's going to be some determination.
Maybe. Maybe.
Oh,
Maybe.
okay.
I agree with you, though. I think there's some things that we can identify. We know ARPA is one. We know communication is another. So, I mean, I think we can probably proceed. I just feel more comfortable with having this discussion because we haven't had this before.
Okay.
So we didn't truly understand what everyone felt. I mean, I know we didn't hear from everyone, so I'm hoping that I'm not speaking for other people. But I think this is more beneficial instead of us just trying to iron and force feed something that's been, I guess, continue the same stuff.
Right.
And I don't necessarily think ARPA is part of the strategic plan, because ARPA is money, and I think ARPA will feed and fund our strategic plan, but ARPA itself is not part of the strategic plan.
Right.
I included it there because I thought there was a consultant.
But deploying it in the most responsible and transformative way, that is a goal.
Potentially.
Or an equitable way,
Or, however you want to wordsmith it.
whatever the council wants
The
to.
deployment of it is a goal.
Okay. So then so we're going to go ahead and we keep having discussion, but I'm just going to pass some things out because I want to get us, keep going.
I have to run to the bathroom real quick. Keep going. Sorry. I won't be able to think otherwise.
So, Mayor, what do you think while he's passing this out?
I think most of it is right. I think that you're not going to find, Moses, unfortunately, there's that magic number of saying, here you got $1 million or $2 million. What do you want to do with it? And build your goals over that. There's never been that type of number or process, because there's always so many projects to do that the money's sucked up. If there's no direction or goals, the money's sucked up in capital projects, replacement of vehicles, sewer, water, streets. And so if we just wait for the budget to be done,
I guess I'm speaking on the part with bringing in the staff and having them part of the discussion with setting the goals.
Yes.
Not
Yes,
necessarily just the budget part.
Yes. I think that it does, I think it would help to have staff there. It gets to be long drawn out because you're working with just CED for such a long time, that library's sitting there for a while. But yes, I think it would help to have staff's input on some things that are feasible or not feasible. That's for sure. But you got to remember, they're going to make, in some cases, gut judgment calls, sometimes educated guesses, because they don't know what this might save or that might spend a cost or whatever. They're going to be shooting from the hip on some issues, questions that we throw at them.
But don't you think directors would have a good idea of that? I mean,
Yeah, those are all yours.
staff in general, but I mean, the directors are responsible for their own budget, so I think they would probably have a
Yes.
good idea.
Absolutely. But yeah, just like I say, we can't expect, very detailed answers or responses on every question, because you just can't be prepared for all that. But end result is, yes, the directors are going to have a very good educated conversation and estimates of what things cost, what's feasible and what's not, even just manpower wise. So I think, yes, I agree with
for me?
staff being there.
Thank you.
But you gotta remember, these goals are still, at this point, should be a bit lofty. It's the objectives that are more annualized, and the goals are 3 to 5 years. So you gotta remember our goals. If someone is to put a goal out there, for example, to me, is that we want to, pave 5 miles of street a year, over the next 5 years, or we want to, you know, put more money into streets and residential streets and everything else. That could be a goal, and then annually below that could be the strategies of how to get there, whether it's ARPA money, whether it's some tax, whether it's a user fee, however, but,
So if we're moving on, sorry, on the time cop, if we're moving on, we need to move on.
I can't hear.
Use the mic.
So we're,
I'm the time cop. If we're moving on, we need to move on.
so, just so you guys know, it's also being televised.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons we keep telling you to talk in the microphone.
Yeah, sorry.
I know.
All good.
So I did pass out a way of writing goals. So this is what I use when I compose the goals that are that we passed out. It's goals, but I use SMART objectives. So SMART objectives obviously are specific, measurable, achievable, or attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So if you look at how I wrote the goals in that document I passed out, I didn't use the objective, I didn't turn them SMART. So you have 3 years. Your goals are 3-year, you already have a time-bound, commitment for those goals. So that's 3 years. And sometimes in an objective, it's not going to work to have a time. If you have like an economic development objective, you could say, we want to attract 10 new businesses by year 2024 or 2022, or one of those. So economic development objectives are a little easier to wrap your head around. I guess I would think about it when an objective is how you get to a goal. That's the step to get to the goal. So for economic development, for instance, if your idea is we want to grow the local economy, we want to, that's your goal. We want to attract a certain number of businesses, we want to retain a number of businesses, and that achieves the goal. So what we want to do, so I passed out the goal statements that I produced. You're talking about some goals that might be a little bit higher end or higher order than what I have here. So I would ask you to attempt, is there any goals off the sheets, like the communications? I split communications between PR and internal, because it seemed like it was a big deal.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not sure if, when you were talking, I saw some things about we need more promotion, we need more media relations, we need to control the narrative of the city. So that's why I split them. So that's why I wrote them separately. So those are a couple of the goals that we produced that, I don't know, that might go forward. You're talking about we need more data to understand, or we need more input. We need for strategic planning, for financial planning, for anything for the city. Is there a goal that you can write that can say, over the next 3 years, we're going to try to achieve this? We're going to change this. Our goal by 2024 is to have this in place. So I would ask you to just consider, look at your sheets, and quite frankly, Judith, can I grab one of your sheets? Okay. So one of the reasons that I was not too concerned about making every objective a SMART objective is because these sheets that you have in front of you, the actions, the timeline, status, who's responsible for working on this task or the objective, and measurements. So because of this, it's SMART. So that's how we split it up. We just find it to be an easier way of achieving or creating goals. So I see some of you writing. So are there any high-end goals that we need to
I-
consider. Yes,
I would consider, once again, with the communication, whether you split it in two or one, but I agree that I think that's been common across the whole council, is communication. PR-wise, controlling the narrative, making things more transparent or usable, friendly to the citizens, all of those issues in communication. I think that's one common thing the city council is agreed upon. And I think there should be I'm not the best at wordsmithing, but some type of goal for the PR communication in it.
yeah, if you would refer to, and I'm sorry, Mayor, you don't have this in front of you, the document that
Yes,
has the
I do.
goals. Oh, you do have it, okay.
I do have it.
There's an internal, there is a PR communications. You can use that as a basis.
Right, and I see both of them broken out here, and, you know, I guess I didn't view it as two of them, but, that depends on the group here, but I would merge them as one, but that's fine.
Yeah, you
Whatever
can,
the group
you
wishes
can
to
definitely do that. The only reason I did that was because there was,
I kind of see the internal one more as beyond communication. It's more of a cultural, officer in the sense of like changing the culture and embedding a culture. That's a different goal, transforming the culture. That might be probably of communication, some of the issues of communication and working, could be just.
okay.
I was gonna ask that question. I didn't know internally, are we having issues with communication, or is it?
I think, one of the things we talked about, the internal communication is, so I don't think the directors always know there's communication between directors and their staff. There is not a whole lot of communication between all the directors, so that each one knows. So for example, I'm on the library board. Our library director doesn't necessarily have communications with the Parks and Rec director all the time. So that communication on how are you handling this or how are you doing that, I think is missing. So I think part of the internal thing is making sure that internally, everyone is on the same page. Everybody has access to the same information, so this group isn't getting information, this group is not. And that information is being conveyed to the city manager, who then conveys it to the council. And I think all along the ways, there's gaps,
Gotcha.
That popped up about 3 times. Go ahead.
May I interject something here, though? And to your point, Alderperson Swanson, I'm going to ask the chief here. You have a staff meeting or a director's meeting every Monday morning, is that correct?
No, so we have a director's meeting on the Wednesday prior to council meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so we Randy kind of gives us an overview of what's coming up. Samantha will go over
And-
the upcoming council agenda, and then we kind of give an overview of what we're doing, what we've been doing, and what's coming, coming in the next week, so.
So to the point of the internal communication, do you see we need more frequent meetings of that nature so that either the directors can talk to each other and say, hey, we have a problem here, we have a problem there, as Alderperson Swanson was saying, or is that something,
It's
are we
possible,
missing
but
the boat here? Are we not being informed to what the real problem is?
It's possible we could get together more often, but, this group of directors probably communicates better and more often than, previous. In my experience previously, there was a lot of silos, and we've kind of eliminated that. You've got Parks working hand in hand with Public Works on a lot of things, CED working with Public Works and Finance on a lot of things, so it's possible that maybe just the communication between ourselves and council could be better, but I think, we do have a pretty strong group of directors that communicate, but whether we meet on a more regular basis, that's something we could look at.
And I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but again, for my colleagues and I, it's, we just don't want to waste time saying that, hey, we need internal communications if it's good. So if there is a problem, what is the problem, and then we can move forward and try to find out, what can be done to correct it. And I don't know if that's if that is a goal that we need to have this year, or I mean,
Yeah, that-
clearly somebody thought that it was.
We got to remember that just because we don't hear about it, just because we don't see something happening and we don't hear and get communicated what department heads are doing, doesn't mean it's not happening.
Well, that was my point.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the communications issues we brought up several times since May has been that communicating to Randy and the appropriate department director when we have a constituent issue, and then, we don't have a good communication system for that, and for tracking.
So it's between the,
Tracking how
so
it
it's between the
gets
council.
resolved.
That's right. It's between the council and disseminating it more than it is internally amongst the city employees.
But it was my
No,
understanding.
it's both, because you're not always getting the feedback of, okay, staff resolved the problem, or no, there's been a delay, or whatever.
Maybe we should start with, instead of the product, we should start with what is the problem we're trying to solve, right? Like, scratch out communications. What is the problem that we're trying to solve with this thing that we're calling a communication plan? It sounds like in that example, Judith, the problem is I look like an idiot when my constituent follows up with me and says, hey, why hasn't XYZ been done yet, right? So starting with what is the problem we're trying to solve may help us figure out what it is we're exactly wanting here. And with respect to, I wasn't able to speak to it earlier, but the internal communications thing, again, I think some of this is due to the way in which our organization is structured into the vertical departments. I'm going to speak to customer focusedness again, right? Like, the goal of the Parks and Rec department, and I'm just picking on Parks and Rec, I don't mean Parks and Rec here. I'll pick on fire, you're here. The goal of the fire department is not to be the best fire department in existence, right? The goal of the fire department is to add some type of value to the people and businesses in Rock Island. And if we, like Parks and Rec is another, or in Public Works, any of them, like the goal of Parks and Rec is not to have the best parks, because what does that mean, right? What I value out of parks is different from what you value out of parks. And so that's where strategy comes in here, of who is the customer that we're targeting here, and how does each of these departments aim their work to meet that need from that customer type. So with the internal communications, is part of this identifying between each department, if we are trying to serve this particular type of customer, and customer is just the word I'm using, it's kind of a weird word because we're a government, but like, if this is our target customer, how can fire add to that? How can library add to that? And once you have that type of mindset, then the conversations between the departments change a little bit, because instead of just, we got to be the best fire, Parks and Rec doesn't know anything about how to be the best fire department, so there would be no conversation. But now if the conversation is how do we all, in our own unique departmental ways, serve this vision, this customer, that opens up opportunities for cross-department discussions.
But we have to do so in a way that we're not micromanaging what the departments are doing.
Oh, that's why I think our only goal here is identifying
No.
the customer.
I'm sorry.
Nope, no problem there. I think what the best use of our and staff's time here is to identify who exactly are we saying is, and it doesn't mean that other customers don't matter, but Kohl's targets a specific type of customer, and they welcome other people to shop there, but they are the best at one thing, right? We need to figure out, and this is where the SWOT analysis comes in. What are we the best at? And where do we need to lean into that and put all efforts of every single department into what we're best at? if I may continue, looking at the SWOT analysis, we all identified diversity as a strength. Our target customer, and we should flesh this out, our target customer is somebody who values diversity. And so how does each department, in their own unique way, serve that mission of adding value to somebody's life who values diversity? And that's where we don't micromanage it. I don't want to tell staff how to do that, but we just lay out to them the clear goal. Because right now we just say, go make the best public works department. And that's sort of like, well, what does that mean, right?
But I think one thing that will assist us with that is not micromanaging, is just kind of giving an overview. We are not preview to the discussion that Randy has with the directors, so we don't know a lot of the projects that are going on, even though our constituents might find out, and then they come ask us, and we're sitting there dumbfounded because we have no idea. So I think a way to give us an overview, I don't know if it's minutes from the directors meeting or if it's a place where the directors can put in input of what they're working on, what they're doing. Randy can, do what he needs to do, or the city manager can do what he needs to do to police that, and then that gives us access to that data, to that information. I think that's the problem. The information is kind of cut off. Randy's only one person, but he's doing the job of multiple people because he's handling departments, he's handling us, he's handling constituents. So, I mean, he's tied down with so many different things. So when we hit him with so many different requests from complaints from constituents and stuff like that, it kind of makes us look like there's a gap in the communication. And it's just like there's just a bottleneck. It's not really a gap, it's just a bottleneck. I think the more information we're able to receive without micromanaging just gives us a brief overview of what's going on, so we're abreast to what's happening within the city. Since that's our main job, is to make sure that we know what's going on with the city and continue the process.
Do each of you receive?
Yeah, and that operations report, he developed that monthly operation report
That's what I was just
to
gonna.
try to help bridge that. Maybe that's not
One in months.
I haven't
defined
seen it.
or,
Okay.
Yeah,
That was
we
the
haven't gotten one in a long time.
So I can.
oh,
look
haven't
into
you?
that.
So what I was going to say is, this is a great discussion about communications, but what I was planning to do is split you up and say, here's communications for you two, you write the goal and look at some objectives. So do we have other goals that we want? Yeah,
I like your goal there on economic development is another one. You hit a number of them on the head here with some, hang on here, I gotta find it, but, was it number 4? I can't remember.
Yeah, number 4 is
Yeah, number
economic
4.
development.
Yeah.
Would everyone agree, economic development?
No.
No,
No?
no, but again,
Economic
Yeah, that's-
development's a goal.
I think economic development
that's-
is the result.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this is getting kind of meta, sorry, but like, having this conversation helps us, right? Like, a goal of a business is not to make money. A goal of a business is to make their customers happy. And they make money by doing that, right? So, economic development is the result of other things taking place. So what are those other things that need to take place that will result in economic development? I would much rather.
I disagree
I think
I
that's an
disagree with that.
objective.
I think you need to focus on economic development for your revenue generating engine of the city and revenue.
Well, I'm certainly not
You can't
saying-
just say, you can't sit there and say, well, now we got more people, so that'll bring more businesses automatically. You can't sit there saying, hey, if everybody makes more money, that's gonna help Rock Island, because there's no place to spend it in Rock Island. You've got to strengthen your existing businesses and bring new businesses into the town for that economic engine for us to feed the growth.
I think,
A goal would be like to have I'm sorry, but I can talk too. A goal can be to increase economic development by, say, 10% and retain 80% of your businesses. That is a goal, and underneath
Yes.
that are your objectives. I mean,
Absolutely.
economic development is not a goal, but when you put a measure with it of retention and growth, then it becomes a goal with objectives you can add to it.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, we're having a bit of a semantics discussion, but if economic development is the goal, We need to have a much more robust conversation about what the objective is.
Correct.
Okay,
So,
Sure.
can I just make one comment?
yeah.
We've had an economic goal for the last 5 years at least, and probably going back forever. It hasn't changed the results that much, though.
Correct.
So that's why I agree with what you're saying, Dylan. That's my comment.
okay.
So would you say, for example, let's say, a goal would be that the city addresses, I don't know, let's say the critical compensation structure we have with our healthcare workers or our essential workers, right? And, I wrote this down, and focusing on, do we have the necessary training, apprentice programs, certificates, all that good stuff? As a result of, if we're providing that, that will drive economic development. If we have 24-hour childcare, if we have the quality workforce, would that drive businesses to want to come in because we have the top-notch? So would we address that? I mean, I'm hearing,
No, I don't think so.
no, okay.
Because they'll just take those jobs into other cities. You train them and they'll just go work in another city at those businesses, not Rock Island.
Go ahead, Mark.
But workforce development could be an objective under economic development?
I would say,
Yes.
yeah, no, okay, yeah. If we know that there's gonna be, what we're hearing is this, issue of childcare and early childcare, right?
Yeah,
Nationwide, right?
right.
So a goal would be perhaps we should probably address that here. One thing that we're hearing is that there's a shortage and people are leaving jobs over $2 an hour raises. Having anchor institutions that will have employees, attracting employees in a workforce would be having access to that type of, so is that, would that drive
Some
economic?
of that could be action steps.
Action steps, okay, thank you.
Be action steps, because it's,
But if you're saying workforce development, that's not a SMART goal, because it's not specific enough. It is certainly not time.
your objectives, I say your objectives should be SMART. Your goal can be a
Right,
little
okay,
broader.
all right, my apologies.
So
No, that's okay.
So our objective under that could be Job Corps, it could be workforce development, it could be all those things that are going to create job opportunities and retain things and help us grow.
Again, being time-specific, because as Alderperson Gilbert said, we've had these same goals for the last 5 years, and it's just kind of a rolling, what we said last year.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind is we've had a revolving door on our CED director, and we've been without a CED director. And I do believe that Miles at the last meeting said the last 2 years, CED has met their goals. So CED has achieved the goals we gave them. So it's not their fault, it's our fault that we didn't do broader goals.
We have to look at the measurements, look at what the end goal was supposed to be. Did we meet the end goal?
Right.
Right.
Because we gave them a list of action steps, which they achieved.
Okay.
Well,
One of the failures of our goal setting, going years past, we never really had good metrics or key performance indicators, and we had no accountability throughout the year for achieving that.
I think that's where the SMART objectives come from,
Right,
though,
so if you-
because
yeah,
then they
so
help
we have
you.
measurements.
Right.
Yeah, they help you narrow that down, so you have those measurements, those benchmarks.
Right.
And then we can have something that we can really judge. Is this working? What needs to be pushed
Correct.
towards it?
Right.
And they
Well-
have those measurements too to make sure that they're achieving them.
Exactly, and you can write your objectives, I mean, this is 3 years, as you know, so and we're looking at 3 to 5 goals. You might want closer to 3 goals, actually. And your objectives, I would say maybe 4 objectives under each goal. Don't go wild. You've only got 3 years. You may want to consider, maybe we could throw another one after we look at the objectives that you create. But I would not be so expansive that you're going to create something that, because under every objective, you're going to have action steps. Those action steps could bang, 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 bang. So
How many goals have you guys identified?
right now,
Well,
there's-
I can't hear.
So we're not doing it individually? Just asking a question. I thought we were writing out our goals individually.
No, I thought he was gonna team us up.
I'm going to team you up.
I don't know if a team-up situation's gonna work real well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I agree.
Interest in a particular goal?
Yeah, we're not gonna put you where you don't wanna go. You're gonna,
I think a whole group discussion is best. I don't think teaming up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, our council has a trust issue, so I don't think teaming up two people to set goals.
no,
is
you're
go
gonna
well.
agree as a group right now. I think Russell's trying to get you there. What 3 to 5 goals you wanna work on, and then you're gonna write the goal.
Right,
I don't think this group together can write one goal.
no, we can
No,
team together.
no. So you gotta get to your 3 to 5 goals like soon.
So I think based on our sheet, goal number 5 was the placemaking, which was, our growth and development in our neighborhoods.
So placemaking, because I took that out of everything that was referring to neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
So,
no, could,
Yes.
so you're speaking to neighborhoods sparked something for me. I view neighborhoods more as what Enterprise was talking to the other day about civic capital, more so than placemaking. I bought my home in Rock Island in the Broadway neighborhood because I knew it was a place that had, I didn't know that there was a word for it, but because I knew it was an area that had high civic capital. And I value civic capital. I value being, able to be a part of my community. And so, like, if we're talking about placemaking, is that having better signage going into Greenbush neighborhood? Or is that, like, what are we talking about placemaking?
Placemaking is basically place-based economic development. You look at it and say, okay, in this community, quit spending all your time and effort trying to recruit something from outside. You need to focus on your residents, increase the amenities, focus on the streets, invest in public amenities for your community.
So what's the difference between that and economic development?
Well, this is called place-based, but it's kind of neighborhood. So we could put it all together.
I think that the way in which we get economic development is to do what you're talking about.
Okay?
well, so I disagree because I think economic development is more business oriented, where I think the placemaking is more resident oriented.
I
Goal of
Agreed.
placemaking, just so I know, so you know, is to make it such a great place people would want to come here and open a business.
Correct.
So,
And live,
and live, yes.
because we keep losing people.
Well, and I think that this is a really good conversation to have, and I appreciate you saying that. I look at, I recently had this thought, and I'll just share it with all of you to see if it sparks something for you, but in 1926, International Harvester opened up their factory here in Rock Island. There was not an economic development department within the city of Rock Island at that time. International Harvester opened up their factory, right? The factory's closed in the 80s, and now we've had economic development staff. Now, I don't mean to belittle economic development staff, but what I mean to say is, what exactly is it that economic development does or is? Because again, we've had economic development for the past several decades. The metrics, if we collected metrics, I mean, how many inquiries does our CED team get, and how many actually result in a sale or the business being created? I bet you that ratio is very, very low. And I'm not blaming the staff. I'm blaming the system that the staff.
It's low in every city that way. You throw 100 against the wall, you only get 2.
Well, I don't
On
know.
economic
Because
development.
if I was in a sales business, I would say I should stop chasing after leads that are not going to result in a sale, and I should think more strategically about what it is that my product is and go after the customers that actually want my product.
Well, but along those lines, so I think we're at a pivot point right now because we are working with Visit Quad Cities now, we're working with the Chamber now, and our CED department, those 3 entities can work together
Yeah.
to vet the businesses, bring the businesses in, because as a salesperson, yeah, I have a product. I might not necessarily think company A is gonna buy it, but you know what? Company A has relationships with 16 other companies, so I can leverage company A, who may or may not buy from me, but they can be an extension of my sales networking and spread the word about me out there. So I think one of the dynamics that's changed for us now is Visit Quad Cities and the Chamber. We're finally gonna put those three together and I think have a little bit more productive businesses looking at things because we're all working together, whereas opposed to before, I think everybody was working independent and nobody was sharing information.
So do we have an idea?
Yeah,
of-
GTI, for example, GTI would not have expanded here if it wasn't for our economic development department. They would have gone and expanded at their other facilities and would have ignored Rock Island if we would not have paid attention to them and wooed them to stay or grow.
And so so to take your point further then, so we gave tax incentives and we gave breaks for GTI to kind of curb the cannabis market here in Rock Island. That's economic development, but yet we didn't vote to allow that product to be smoked in our downtown through a cannabis lounge.
Go ahead, Moses.
Have we
Maybe not
received?
smoke, but we just sell, we did. But either way, it created jobs in our city. It increased the property tax values and it gave the city more money. At the end of the year, we have more money in our pocket because it's here.
Do we know some of the data of why businesses or residents are not coming to Rock Island? Have we gathered that information? Because I think that's a smart first step in order to move forward, is to understand what is the reasoning why people are not coming or why businesses are not coming.
I think Dari and the Chamber have that information.
Well, I don't know.
Yes, they do.
I don't know.
Yes, they do.
I would suggest that some of the industries and sectors, if you will, that would work well in Rock Island is not even on the Chamber's radar, right? Like, again, going to our strengths. Our strengths are not tillable land. We know this. We're landlocked. Our strengths are not lots of money to give away for incentives, because we don't have that, right? So what is it that we do have, and what do businesses want that we have? And we need to have that conversation, because we never have. We just sort of say, go out there and talk to anybody who's willing to talk to us. But if we think a little bit more strategically about the reason International Harvester came here is because all they needed was the river and a ton of people to move pieces of metal in a big factory. At that time, it was just an industrial manufacturing sector.
Some of what you're talking about in terms of economic development is something that under the goal you might want to study. That'd be an objective to, okay, look at Rock Island. What are our assets? And do a very specific economic development strategic plan and look at that. Yeah, Jen.
We have to also do the flip side. As I mentioned earlier at Monday's meeting, I had someone in the community give me 5 anecdotes of people who either have a business here, who don't want to be here because of the way they've been treated in Rock Island, or why people are not coming to Rock Island. So that is also valuable information we need to collect.
Right,
I think that's great. I mean,
Maybe an action plan under economic development.
correct.
So that's something that have we done that before? Have we studied the data and looked at those type of things? So then I agree, that's probably a goal that we could pursue, because that gives us better insight of what we need to be trying to pursue, understanding the reasoning.
Right.
And then we can come up with a better solution of how to, fix that.
And
I think that'd be ideal to be an action plan under the economic goal.
And I mean, leveraging our partners such as Visit Quad Cities, the Chamber, Dari, Growth, all those entities, to find out what people are, why they are coming and why they aren't coming, and what, or the reason they're not coming, fix, if you can.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think we could do, and I've had some people in the industry approach me about that, is to include our realtors. And talk, because they're the ones with boots on the ground, if you'll pardon the pun. They're the ones with boots on the ground talking to people as to why you are here or why you are not here. Does it cost too much? Are the taxes too high? The quality of homes in our that are available, are they properly located? Located to a grocery store, to a fire station, or to whatever is most important to them, to the hospital.
Okay, so,
Other source is the financial industry.
I'm sorry?
The financial industry.
You're making
source-
great comments, but we have to move on the goals so you
Well,
can.
okay,
Right.
I have a goal.
okay, do you want placemaking or no?
I would say yes. I mean, I think residents, drawing residents in is a key.
Okay, so once we write all these, you can discard if you want, so. Okay, Judith, you had an idea?
So, well, this is a little long, so you can wordsmith it however you want. Conduct a thorough financial analysis of city operations and potential, and prepare a long-term sustainable financial plan.
So to me, the a sustainable financial plan would come under, it'd be an objective under
Yeah.
an objective, so it'd be under,
How do you turn that into a goal? We've never looked at our finances from a different perspective. We keep looking at it from the same perspective.
you look, yeah, what you do is that you would look at, you could be very brief or you can be very long. This is I wrote in here with ARPA, create a long-term recovery plan. So it could be part of the goal. The goal is financial well-being, financial sustainability.
Financial
Agreed.
sustainability,
Okay.
that's what I meant.
So then your objective would be to undertake a financial plan.
First do an analysis and then.
Yeah, do it, yeah.
That's what I wanted to say, financial sustainability.
Okay. What is,
I couldn't hear that.
Financials,
Financial sustainability?
That's the goal.
no, I didn't see him on
Mayor, are
it.
you there?
He closed his,
Yeah.
he took his
Can you
video.
hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Financial stability or sustainability is the goal identified.
Okay.
Okay, do you want one more?
So what do you have? Communication, we got economic, and then we got financial stability?
Placemaking.
Right there.
That's 4 then, right?
Yeah, there's 4.
I will make the case that I disagree with these goals because I think that they lead us into thinking about the product and not the customer. Now, I'm willing to continue with these for the sake of this process. However, as we explore, the objectives or whatever, we need to have that discussion of what is the customer, what adds value to the customer. I just wanted to make that case.
And I agree with you, and you and I have had a conversation about this. I think goal-wise, these are great goals. Under these goals, one of the first objectives is to take that hierarchy pyramid that puts the council at the top, then the city manager, then the directors, and then the residents, and flip it upside down. So on your objectives, you need to not look at pleasing the council or the city manager, but you need to look at how are those objectives done with the focus being on the residents, customers, residents at the top. That is your boss. That is who you are to make happy. And the council is at the bottom.
I think that was my indication with, especially with the public relations or communications, is first the residents, because they are the ones that are, out of the shuffle. They have no communication with us at all, besides when they come to council meetings. But I mean, we don't have a clear-cut way of communicating and getting feedback from them, so.
Perhaps maybe what we're saying as a goal is that we're going to transform the city practices.
Enterprise, what was
Enterprise
that?
transformation.
Can
sure.
I add one thing? You guys talk about the residences and what meets the residents. also the businesses. If you don't have businesses, you're not gonna have residents.
Yeah.
So
I
you
like-
need to add the word businesses in there.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
like
I think
customers.
under the financial sustainability part, you know, our revenues change. I mean, we don't have consistent revenues. Case in point, gaming is down this year. I mean, you can't, there are deficits that you have no control over. But one of the things that you do have to focus on is, you have, you know, we had 38,000 residents. We now have 37,000 residents. Every time you lose a chunk of residents, it's that fewer people that have to fund the city through taxes. So the smaller the city gets, the more the tax burden increases on the residents because it's fewer people to bring that revenue in. So you focus on growing the residents, and then you spread out that tax burden among more people.
And
Could I ask for Alderman Geenan to repeat what he had said? Because I was starting to address that before I was interrupted.
When we're talking about internal things or how we're communicating from staff, the whole structure, it's just transforming the city practices from,
Forming the city practices. That was along the lines of what I was saying for, whether we call it enterprise transformation, maybe that's not a goal, I don't know, or
and
standards of excellence, like, for example, the best one to refer to is the Malcolm Baldridge program.
I don't know what we need to transform in the practices, but I'm hearing that that seems to be,
But would that be something that the directors could help with setting the objectives?
absolutely. But I think we're
Because they're the
agreeing
ones
that,
that would have to do it.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're agreeing that we have to do it, but we don't know.
Correct.
Is that a study, or is that relying on the directors, or is it getting some outside support? We have significant funding to actually maybe fund some of that transformation of our city practices, but we probably should do it with data. That's-
So it's probably time to write your goals,
Yes.
okay?
So you probably could have an objective of transforming city practices under each of these.
Right. But,
Or are you thinking it should be separate?
an
Or-
overall
yeah,
thing, but I don't know the right words to, like, you transformed mine into financial sustainability. I'm saying, what is that for? Enterprise transformation, or setting new standards of excellence for the city, transforming the city's practices, all those things. What is that goal?
so,
Do you think that's,
Enterprise transformation, would that be a goal? Is that a goal? Like financial stability?
I think it could be a goal. Is that something you'd all want to look at? Look at it?
I think it's a great objective under each one.
I do
think-
too.
I think the way in which we try to go about solving these goals will depend on whether we transform whether we transform the enterprise. Like, for example, we're talking about objectives now. My objectives are all questions. They are not like, go do this. For example, economic development, I have what types of businesses? What do those types of businesses need? How do they make the decision where to go, right? Like, I think we should start with these, not, I don't know, whatever an objective is for economic development. And by starting with sort of, with this learning attitude, that's how we transform the enterprise.
It's like you're missing the data.
data.
You're missing the data to answer those questions.
So in many cases, and Judith knows this, because she's done this, economic development strategic plan, that's where you get those questions answered. You have, you go out, survey, have a consultant come in, say, what industries make the most sense in this community based on our assets and what we have?
So data gathering, measuring, surveying, whatever, is going to be objectives under each of your goals. It's sounding like.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I mean, I don't know how,
so you guys need to work on writing your 4 goals. You need to start.
I have a question, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I have a question with regard to a problem that I see, and maybe you guys don't see it, or maybe you do and just hadn't come up. but we've had several discussions about our image. And it all ties into some of the goals that we're looking at about why people want to come here, what do our customers want. A lot of it relates back to our image. And so are we going to put that under communications, or are we just going to put that off to the side for now? What are we going to do with that? We've had this discussion on numerous occasions.
You can address
Our
that in your,
image.
you can address that in your objectives wherever it fits. If it fits under all of them, you can put it under all of them. If it fits under 1, 2, you can address that in your objectives.
I had it
Thank
under
you.
communications, because I thought it had something to do with media relations and also in marketing,
Yeah, I would
marketing
agree.
of the community.
I agree. I agree.
Because that's controlling the narrative, being able to get the story out or whatever, the image is all part of that narrative. And by having that PR, they're able to control that.
Right.
And dictate what goes out and what comes,
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't off base there, that we were still focusing on that, it's kind of an important thing that we feel it's important, and then what do our constituents feel?
Yeah, and
Again,
I think
going back to the
try to
goals.
write that into the goal, because I think that our controlling the data, controlling the narrative, I guess that's what it's trying to think, is more than a 3-year plan. You can't change that or make effect in just 1 year. So to do too much of that in an objective, which is only annually typically,
So-
I'd like to see that part of the goal.
But I think you can address that in the structure of setting that up. Because right now, we don't have
Yeah.
anything in place. Whenever someone does negatively talks about Rock Island, we don't have anyone that can address, or we need someone to make a public comment. We don't have a
Right.
specific person or a protocol of how we handle that.
So, I'm sorry, I'm pushing you along, but we have to do this. We have to write our goals now. This is our focus.
I'm sorry,
And
but we have to have this discussion.
I
I'm
understand
sorry.
you do. I understand you do, and I think you've had a great discussion. But we need to write our communications goal.
But I think the point needs to be made. We cannot, whatever the goals are, we can't keep doing them the same way we've been doing them and expecting we're gonna have a different result. So that
We have that.
innovation, that transformation, changing the practices is imperative in every single goal then, so that hopefully we'll get different results.
I think we have captured that.
I just wanted to emphasize that.
So, give me the text for this goal, for communications.
I don't understand.
You write it.
The objective?
No, the goal statement.
So Russell did an example one on page 2, if that helps get you started.
Split them in 2.
Right.
And you could do a one-sentence one. I write them very verbose, so it's up to you. You can write them any way you want.
So I have one
I like the
started.
way that you wrote it. I just want to make sure that we understand who the customer is. Like, for example, marketing plan that increases local, regional, and national awareness of the benefits of living, working, visiting, and investing in Rock Island. If we put out a marketing plan that's targeted to a customer that does not match our strengths, it's a complete waste of resources. It's an utter complete waste of resources. And so we need to figure out, and perhaps that's part of a marketing plan, but we need to make sure that we really identify who would we add value to.
That would be part of a marketing plan.
That's fine. Then this.
So that would be a task or an action under your, you could do a survey, you could do a marketing plan, a part of this marketing plan would have a survey. So those questions, when you're talking about data, that would come in a plan. You'd have to collect that, or else there's no reason to have a plan, right?
Right.
So,
I actually think your goal is perfect.
Yep.
It embraces everything.
Isn't he wonderful?
Which one? Which one?
The PR marketing one,
Number 2.
Okay, thank you.
We have communications up there, and then you have one for internal communications.
yeah, I split it. Remember, I split it because I thought there was enough discussion from what I had talked to by state about of internal communications between staff, between council, and there was enough difference with PR and marketing, but you could put them back together.
Well, in your internal communications, I feel like the missing loop too is also with constituents, whether they're businesses or residents.
Right, and I didn't get everything in there, so that, when you look at that, add stuff, delete,
And I think that part would fall under the PR and marketing, because the PR and marketing is going to be that communication between city and the residents
okay,
and businesses.
okay.
Well, I guess what are we trying to accomplish with PR and marketing? Is it like advertising on TV? You know, is it like, come live in Rock Island? Is it come visit Rock Island? Is it start your business in Rock Island? Like, what is
Well,
the goal?
I think part of it is, so one of the worst things we did was get rid of our marketing person.
I don't know.
Simply because nobody knows what's going on in Rock Island. I mean, we have ribbon cuttings that people don't know about. There are businesses opening that aren't having ribbon cuttings. There are, you know, that communication is missing. There are good things going on in Rock Island, but there is nobody getting the word out to other cities, let alone the people in Rock Island. I mean, I look at what Holly's doing with the schools. I mean, she's constantly pumping out good information about the schools. We don't have that with the city. So we may have the greatest thing in the world going on, but people in other cities have no idea what's going on because we don't have anybody promoting Rock Island.
So I think
Correct.
I think we have to do exactly what you said, and then some. Unlike before, we had someone who had our branding. You know, it was a certain color scheme that you use. It was put in a certain way, so it was uniform all the way across. The PR or the marketing will do all of that, you know, and then if there's an issue or if there's something positive, they do regular press releases, stuff like that, so information can get out, and we, again, control the narrative of how things are being addressed. When there's questions, that person or that team can answer those questions instead of it looking for someone to answer the question.
And when something happens, you don't have 10 different comments. You have your marketing and PR person, they draft the narrative that everybody says.
Right.
And
That's right.
therefore you have a united voice, you know, in the, I mean, for good things and for bad things.
Right. Because so, like for instance, for my job, if there's an incident at the job, we get with the PR department and they work the statement, so everyone knows what the statement is going to be. No matter who's asked, they develop the statement. They get the consensus of what we want to say, and then we all agree on it. And that's the only statement you say.
Right.
Instead of it being my own opinion, you know, everyone else's own opinion. It's uniform.
Yes.
Is the goal, the outcome, getting back, tying in with what questions Dylan?
The objectives or
No.
or the actions?
No,
I think the goal has to be what are we trying to establish?
right, so, but he's,
He's asking the questions, right?
yeah, but it goes back to those questions that he was asking, like, versus this wordsmithing versus, I think, what he was trying to move it to in terms of,
So I'm thinking of customer journeys, right?
what was that?
Customer journeys is
Customer
is
journeys.
jargon, right? So I'm thinking that a business advertises on Facebook and says, sign up here to get my newsletter. And you click on the link on Facebook, and that leads you to the newsletter sign up button on their website. And then that leads you to the place where you can buy their product, right? So that is a very explicit marketing campaign into the customer journey, right? And you can justify paying the marketer to market because you can see that by turning the knob up, it results in more sales, right? So really, what we need to be answering here tonight is, do we think that this is going to move the knob? And is this something that we are willing to raise taxes to pay for? because.
Well, you
or-
could use, you could use ARPA money for it, but yeah.
Or, well, okay, then we do this for 3 years and then we're done. But like, is this something that we're either willing to cut current services or raise taxes for? Does this add enough value to our customers that we really think it's something to do? And I think it would be if we can demonstrate that it creates a customer journey.
Well, and I think that falls under your measurements, because one of your measurements for the PR and marketing would be growth. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the measurements is, you know, is it increasing traffic to events in Rock Island? Is it increasing, you know, people coming to move and look at houses? You know,
Right,
that
so-
would be a great measurement of it, and then you could evaluate
You
if
know,
at the end of 3 years
another-
it's done nothing.
Another great measurement would be surveying it. You do a survey to set your base, and in that survey, you find how many people like what's going on in Rock Island or whatever it is, and that percentage, if it grows, that's something to measure.
Correct.
I think Randy had mentioned before, we wanted to wait until this process before we think about an actual software that we can capture data, we can share data with constituents, and that may solve the issue we're having with not getting information from the department heads. That could be
Correct.
that can be a solution. So that could be measurable, and it also could be worth money spent
Yep.
because it's able to handle so many different factors that we just don't have the capability right now to
Okay,
do.
so how are we gonna wordsmith the goal?
Develop a
PR,
communication
communications program,
Plan.
I,
plan?
I,
Go ahead.
okay, I just think it's too general, too generic, and not specific enough for a 3-year goal, and that maybe it needs to bring in,
I think we'll get to that specificity by the process of developing the plan.
Right, and it'll fall
Yes.
under the objective.
but it's
Yeah.
the same goal that every,
Your goals are gonna probably be very similar, it's the objectives that are gonna change. I mean,
Yeah.
your
Yes.
goal's gonna be the same.
Well, if you look at city strategic plans, there's very little variance between how they write goals. And the goals
Yep.
are not this long, because with a strategic plan, it has to be succinct, and it has to be understandable. So, Judith, if you have an idea of how to make it specific, write that down and let us observe it, see it.
I know me, I'm really focusing on the SMART aspect of it, the SMART objectives, because that really drives not only the objective, but the goal, because that gives you your measurables, it gives you your responsible party, the status, timeline, your actions, that you fine tune everything in that SMART objective. I understand what you're saying, that the goal may not seem specific for what you're looking for. I mean, you can say PR department. That's what we're looking for, PR department, but
I don't know.
would that really get everything, I guess, would people understand what that means?
well, it's like, what are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to convey some of our strengths in this plan? Are we trying to change the negative narrative of Rock Island's reputation?
Are we
Yeah,
trying to,
I think,
We're
Both.
specific.
are we
I
trying
think
to
we're
raise,
trying to fix a couple things. We're trying to fix the lack of communication, the inability to communicate, and also being able to add in the marketing value, because then you have like the branding marketing where you can then promote the city in a positive way. It's a way to kind of hone all that together.
Are we talking about then reinstating or establishing a communication specialist to take care of those issues for us?
I don't know if that goes down that route, but
I don't know, because
Yep.
I would.
No.
I don't know, and I'm sorry to keep on going back to this, but it makes me think of, the city already does a lot of communications. The Parks and Rec Department puts out communications all the time. The library puts out the library has their own staffer for putting out press releases. But is there any thought as to how those communications serve a customer that will result in a goal? I don't know.
a goal of building our social civic capital?
Well, maybe, but
Something
like,
like that, right?
whatever that goal is, but like, here's my thinking again. Parks and Rec is putting out communications about their events, but that is in service to creating the best Parks and Rec Department. It's just the product. Could they change their communications that already exist within the city to sort of shift the mindset from, come to our event because it's a Parks and Rec thing, but, you know, we do events and you should come to them because you value this and that's how you bring people in. You know, I guess I'm trying to convey, we don't necessarily need to hire another Jason Wild. It might be
No.
helpful, I don't know. But we need to be more strategic in what are we trying to actually accomplish with the communications that we already do. It's not just, we have a Parks and Rec department, and it's good. It's, what do you actually get value out of this Parks and Rec department, and how can we shift those things?
But see, you're gonna get different values.
Sorry, we are not complimentary. You guys are having a great discussion, and I appreciate that. But that's not what we're here for. So, I don't know what to say. We're not accomplishing anything. You have not written a goal yet. You have, and I'm sorry, I'm your timekeeper, I'm your clock there. We are at 6:10. It's great discussion. I'm hearing all of you guys say you're having a good conversation, you're talking, you're in the tactics, you're in the measurements, we have to focus and write the goals, or Russell and I can't help you.
I hear you.
That's where we're at.
I
Thank you,
think I
Jen.
heard council say, though, that we liked with communications, the goal that has already been written.
But it's taken 4 hours to get to that, other than the first half hour we spent on mission.
I'm sorry, I don't think we can rush this though, because we have questions that we are trying to hash out in order to make sure that these goals are going to be effective, not only for us, but for our staff. So unfortunately, it will take some time. You can't get it done in 5 minutes. You can't get it done in 10 minutes.
No problem with that, then Russell and I are probably not the people to do it for you. You probably need somebody else.
Because we're not following your timeline?
No, because we're not,
Process that we use, and.
we're not doing what we agreed to with you.
And we're not strategic planning experts. We're not standing up here as a consultant.
Sure.
We're extension. We have our curriculum. At this
I think, to be honest, we need to go very closely with the goals that Russell wrote for each of these. I think as we have further communications Monday with staff and we start looking at objectives, because we're not gonna get to any objectives tonight, but when we start looking at objectives with the staff, we may at that point, as we're listing them and the action steps and the measurements, we may at that point decide we need to tweak the goal a little bit. But I think we need a starting place, otherwise we can't come up with any objectives because.
Well, you have 3 hours on Monday to do all of it now, and
Right.
honestly, I'm being honest, Russell, we're not getting it done for you tonight. You probably need to look to somebody that this is their expertise,
Sure.
because we're not getting it done for you. No, we're not helping you write one goal yet.
We already have.
But I think, so.
You already have. I mean, the goal that.
Yeah. I
Well,
think what you're
okay.
misunderstanding is that understand it's not on paper, but you're allowing us to visually see things, have a discussion, and then better fine tune what we really are trying to get. I think the problem we had in the past is that it's been rushed. So things come up, okay, we got to get this done, so then we just select things, and we really truly haven't had a discussion as a council to truly agree with it. So you are doing a wonderful job. I know you feel like you're not,
I'm getting
but
an
you are
enormous
doing
amount
an
of value out of
excellent
this.
job because you're allowing us to fine tune what we really need to think about.
Okay. So
Sometimes that takes a little bit more time, and I'm sorry for that, but.
No, it's okay. Maybe you guys need to continue this conversation.
Maybe you need more time to discuss.
And then call us when you want us to re-engage.
Personally, I think we would discuss for 10 to 15 years and never be able to come up with a goal.
I agree. We need you guys to keep us on task,
Yeah.
wordsmith it, and say, go.
Okay, so we're going to take the communication goals that I wrote. And unless anyone has anything they want to add, to rewrite and give to me, and I will wordsmith on Monday before we come back.
No, this is fine.
Okay? I'm still going to wordsmith it because I'm going to combine internal and the marketing. I'm going to probably call it communications plan. Okay?
I think the part when we meet with staff on Monday, that can probably answer some of the questions that you have about the individual promotions and stuff like that, and how that can better be used for the entire city. They have that data, they have that expertise, they have the experience, so I think that will help us, because we won't be able to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. And I am getting an enormous amount of value out of this.
I am too, that's why.
Well, maybe we need one more session. That was just discussion only. But I thought you got it, because I heard it took 4 hours to get through SWAT, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the next goal we had, is economic development.
And again, I know you wrote it, but I actually think you captured a lot of it. It's, with the business retention, the entrepreneurial development, which helps the creative thinking, and then attracting the business. The one thing that I would add to it is, and maybe that doesn't fall under a goal, maybe it falls more under a measurement or an objective, would be a retention of like 85% and growth of 10%. But I don't know, maybe that falls
That would probably be an objective.
an objective.
Yeah, so you'd write that into the objective, but it would be good to have your staff and say, what do you think is feasible? And also, data. What data is necessary? I mean, you've talked about you need data for all this. You need more information for all this. So maybe that needs to be an objective under each of these goals. Before we enact the other step, we need more information. We need to, maybe survey people or something and find out, look at the city budget, those types of things. So that can definitely be an objective.
Yeah, I think developing an economic development strategy or plan is a perfectly fine objective. However, I have a lot of questions when we get to that, I mean, again, it's, what is the customer?
Inclusive?
If you say customer one more time.
Well, if you've ever seen an economic development strategic plan, they can be this thick.
Yeah.
So that they do go through the process and look at who's the customer, who's the potential business, who, based on the workforce, who would most likely come here. So those answers would come in something like that.
Right.
So I think you're trying to get the data before you put the data together. And I understand, because that you need to understand, we need the data. So that is an objective. So how do you get the data? You do a survey, you do a plan, you study it somehow, and that is an objective. That is a step to get to that goal. Yes, Judith?
So, and you've done a great job of laying this out, but in my mind, these are generic, these are not unique to what Rock Island needs to focus on, going back to the SWOT analysis.
Okay.
And pulling in some of that. So if it's not unique and more focused and working off of our SWOT, how can we expect different results? It's the same old, every community has these kind of goals.
I think Russell covered that, though, when he said many cities, their strategic plans, the goals are pretty much the same. You can Google, and they're pretty much the same. It's the objectives and the measurements and stuff that make you unique.
I disagree with that.
So what would you propose as a good goal for economic development?
I've got to work on it, because I'd have to go back and look
Okay.
at what we identified in
You
the
have that.
SWOT
Okay,
and try to pull that in and make it more unique and focused.
okay,
I mean, well,
Because it is a 3-year, the goals are it's a 3-year plan.
right.
Judith, to your point, and I guess what I'm understanding is that the goal of economic development, the objective is developing an economic development strategy and plan. In the process of developing a strategy and plan, we will come to things like, the goal of the city of Rock Island is to attract businesses that value the assets that we have, right? That the assets that we have is useful to them. And that would be developed within this strategy or plan. And that's where it gets individual, right? Because the assets that Rock Island has is different than the assets that Moline has, with workforce, with natural resources, with infrastructure, or whatever. Right now, we don't connect the SWOT analysis to the economic development plan. We just, whoever knocks on the door, let's go talk to you. What we need to do is identify what sectors would be useful, or not useful, but would work with our strengths, and go after them. Not to say that we shouldn't answer the door when somebody knocks, but have a little bit more of a proactive. I think proactive is explicitly in here. Being a little bit more thoughtful about what businesses we're targeting.
So, time beggars, is the goal the end state?
Yes, your goal, you're looking 3 years out, and the goal is, what does it look like in Rock Island 3 years out, based on general economic development? What have you done in economic development that has changed the city for the better 3 years from now?
We have finally crossed the line and addressed the disparities of business owners, right, of the equity.
Yeah.
Right,
We have
I mean,
more minority-owned businesses than any
yes, you
other
want
city,
more,
'cause
that
that was a goal, and we invested in it, and that was the outcome.
Yes, I didn't include that as an objective. That could be an objective. I just wrote general objectives to give you an example of what should be there. So the objectives really need to be very customized to Rock Island. What do you want to accomplish in 3 years? I mean, your goal, you could say, if you want to think about it this way, by the year 2024, this is what economic development is or has done for Rock Island. So you're kind of an aspirational look.
I see and hear what you're saying, I'm just,
No, and if you want to work on it, that's fine. That is
I'll see
absolutely,
about it.
absolutely fine. You can email
but I
me,
just
yeah.
think we need to make it more unique,
Okay,
so that it's,
Useful.
okay.
thank you,
Yeah, I mean, this is,
Goal or
this is,
the objective needs to be.
goal.
well, I mean, this is fine, but really, I think what would be a helpful conversation is the next step that we're gonna be taking here, which we should take, is just being a little bit more focused on what our strategy is, who our customer is, what are we actually trying to do here, what are the metrics? This is sort of high level, which of course it's the same for every single city.
Okay, under that, in the economic development thing, I put everything that was economic development that I knew of. It was attraction, retention, you know. In some cases, communities are not doing attraction anymore. They're saying, no, we're gonna do place-based. We're gonna do, you know, placemaking. We're gonna focus all our efforts on making this a great place for our residents, and they're our ambassadors. They're going to be the ones who are gonna tell everyone, you know, you should be here. You should open a business here, or maybe you should bring your business here. So some of them are doing that. Is it, you know, so there is other things besides the traditional, you should always answer the door. You should always pick up the phone. You should always know what your assets are and what businesses make the most sense in your community. So I'm not negating that, but is there an objective there that might say, let's do something different?
And I think, I mean, in all honesty, it is not the job of council to do the individual jobs of the departments. We hire professional staff who are educated and trained in doing this, and so they know the best way to do it. And I think part of these discussions don't necessarily fall in a strategic plan, but they fall in
What
the
can a department
objectives
do?
and a directive to the individual directors and the staff that, hey, we want you to look at this a different way. That is not our role to tell them how to look at it. It is their job to report back to us how they, with their interactions, their experience in Rock Island, how they feel that this can make us unique and stand out. That's not our job.
Yeah,
So would it be beneficial for, like we have the 4 identified then, right? 4 or 5?
We have 4.
Monday, and then staff will assist us with coming up with the objectives and the goal, whatever, maybe fine tuning the goal, but then we'll have a better idea instead of, like you mentioned, us just directing it to them. They have the expertise. They
Right.
know what's possible. Because again, we don't have all the data. They do.
Yes.
They have all the information that we need to make that decision instead of us trying to force feed it and knowing, coming up with something that they know it's impossible, they can lead us and, hey, no, this is the way you probably want to word that or work towards that. This is what we can do within the means we have.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. The people who actually work in economic development or work in the fire department, or they're the ones who probably had the knowledge and expertise to craft objectives, yes.
Be more beneficial to work backwards, identifying the outcomes, which we talked about in SWOT, then figuring out the actions and the strategy, and then wordsmithing the goal.
So your measurements, you're looking at, you're talking about outcomes, what you
Well,
want to see.
like, what is it, we keep saying this, what is it we're trying to accomplish?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that absolutely makes sense. From an economic development standpoint, what do you want to accomplish in 3 years? What can be accomplished in 3 years? And if I remind you, you're writing actions for 1. I mean, you're writing objectives for 3, but you want to look at 1 for actual action steps.
I actually think in the essence of time and respect for what you guys are doing and trying to do with us, based on what you have heard us talking about, I think your goals are for the most part very good, and maybe tweak them a little bit based on the conversation, but I think to come back on Monday, to have the goals that you put here as the goals for each of the economic development in each of those, and then have that be our base starting point, and then work with the staff on the objectives. Because your goals are broad, our objectives are gonna be narrower, and the action steps are gonna be even narrower. You don't think that'll work? No. Okay.
Why?
1, it ignores additional goals we added. And
Yeah,
we've
they
had
need to be-
consultants write the goals 4 years ago, that's what happened, 5 years ago.
Well, I will say the goal statement, I use this SWOT for, so that is fine. It's probably too long. The objectives, I wrote those as examples of what could be used.
Oh, I wouldn't, I'm just saying.
Goals.
The goal.
Okay.
And then the objectives,
You work on Monday.
work on the objectives Monday with the department heads, and those will help narrow down what it is we're trying to do. And then at that point, it may be that it's like, okay, this is a great goal, or it needs to be changed just a little bit.
Okay.
Otherwise, we are never gonna come up with a goal. I'll be honest with you. We will never come up with a goal here.
Okay.
But what about the other goals we added?
So the other goals were, we have placemaking, that's one in there. You might want to look at that and see if that needs to be rewritten somehow. And the other one, the last one, we have 4, communications, economic development, placemaking, financial sustainability. Now that is one that we probably need to really focus on, unless you have anything on placemaking. I mean, do you want me to shorten it? And I know, Judith, you're going to look at economic development and try to make it more specific. Because I need to know what your vision is for that. Because I'm not sure, so.
Sure, the goal should be much more specific, but I like the financial stability, or that sustainability, that's fine.
Okay.
Goal.
Financial sustainability.
So that gives us 5 goals then, correct?
4.
4.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 4 are communications. We're going to combine internal and marketing and PR together. Economic development's number 2. Number 3 is placemaking. And number 4 is financial sustainability.
Good, there you go. That's a lot, that's a lot to do.
Yeah, for 3 years, yeah.
An awful lot to do.
No, because what I read you said was an objective.
Oh, the financial plan, yeah.
Yeah, So,
So,
you're the wordsmith.
okay, so the
Russell.
goal, so we're looking 3 years out for, in 3 years, in 2024,
We have
what does financial sustainability mean?
an increase of the diversity of the portfolio of revenue streams or something like that. Our portfolio of revenue streams have increased and expanded.
How did you just come up with that?
Huh?
How did you just come up
I
with
don't
that?
know.
That's not bad.
It's really good, actually.
And
I
and
agree.
I think too, to maybe review the, I don't know what the right terminology is, but review in the budget, review budget expenditures to see to streamline budget expenditures. Maybe, review,
Is that an objective?
Yeah.
Would that be an
So-
objective? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, was an objective, to
That's
do
an
an
That's an objective.
analysis.
So, yeah, so budget analysis and review, budget expenditures. Didn't you all say that
Market study.
you all wanted to have financial information before you do the strategic plans, right? So, yes.
Well, and that's part of it, well, I don't know, kind of ties in with communication, but our residents are not aware of our,
no, review.
Budget
the
expenditures.
Budget expenditures.
So use financial data to make better decision-making.
Efficiencies.
Because if we budget money for one thing and we don't use it, then we need to quit budgeting it for that.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that is an objective, or that should be part of the goal?
I can't see because Johnny's.
Jenny?
Oh, I think it's
I think it's part of the objective.
Okay, it's an objective, okay.
because it's
Mine was
specific.
more of analyzing, not just the budget, but the whole financial.
You said financial plan, right?
Well, that was the outcome. We have a long-term,
Okay.
sustainable financial plan.
Would it be true, anything that kind of have like a measurements that can be, that's figured, considered an objective?
Yes. Yeah, objectives are how we're gonna measure. We're gonna measure, the goal is global, is more global.
Well, I don't know if this is helpful, but something that I've thought about with respect to the finance department. We do have metrics and measurements. We have a quarterly report every quarter from the finance department. However, what is it that we actually measure with that report? All we measure is the accuracy of our ability to forecast and budget, right? Where all it is how many % of funds have been spent, how many %, like, it doesn't actually analyze what moves the needle on what we're trying to do. All it analyzes is how accurate were we a year ago for budgeting, for predicting where our budget would be. And that is a useless, it's useful in the sense of like knowing if we're going off the cliff of not having enough money or something like that. We shouldn't stop doing that. But what would more useful measurements with respect to finances be? It would show you when you spend $1 here, you get a result here. And I don't know what that measurement looks like, but we should be thinking about that type of metrics.
Return on
Connecting
investments.
spending money with results.
But I think that's what Alderwoman Swanson was saying.
Yeah.
If we're continuing to budget for something that we're not using or is not useful for us, then we need to stop budgeting for that. And that allows us to change, that line item.
Well, I agree. I was just using the example of the quarterly report of like, that's not useful with respect to getting more getting more businesses, getting more residents, whatever. Like, if that's our goal, is to bring people in, to have more businesses or whatever.
There's a lot of variables then that you address, from access to early childcare to access
Yeah,
to
I mean, it's
services
a
to
whole-
buses to everything.
It's a whole can of worms, however, I just wanted to,
That's a great
I wanted to
example.
bring that to everyone's
It's
attention.
like investing, you know.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
in several departments, we don't know true costs And yet we continue to fund year after year things that are losing us money. Not sure why. And that's never even discussed in our budget sessions.
Is that a particular accounting procedure that's unique?
But I think that goes into what Alderman Parker was saying. Typically in our reports, all we do is make sure that we're able to pay what we said we were gonna pay. We don't really understand, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't look to see if it's making sense.
Well, I give the example, once again, and we've talked about this, but the marina is an example. Should that something, is it costing us money? If it is, why do we keep it around? Why do we keep budgeting for it, et cetera?
All right.
Yeah.
I have it, I've captured it.
Okay. One of the things Jenny put here was examine effectiveness of current metrics. I think that could be an objective under each of your goals, actually.
I agree.
All right.
That's a
So-
good one.
Yeah, I think,
By which, but what are you gonna use to judge the effectiveness?
well, that depends on what our goal is, right? I mean, that depends on what we're trying to do.
There has to be some measurable,
Mhm.
point in there that you're gonna say, yes, this is, or no, this is not. So,
Yeah.
I mean.
Know what your
I see where-
benchmark is.
I see where you're going, but we need to be more, we need to refine that a little bit.
Oh, we need to refine all of this a lot.
Yeah, you might need to set benchmarks,
You can have hundreds of metrics, but which are the ones that are
make the most sense.
really,
Game changing for Rock Island.
Right.
yeah.
And, I mean, we can talk about metrics for a long time, but there's a big difference between leading metrics and lagging metrics, right? Like, it's no use, if you're trying to lose weight, it makes no sense to measure your weight. It makes way more sense to measure how many times you exercise, because you can actually change how many times you exercise. And you know that if you exercise more, your weight goes down. But everybody just measures their weight, and they don't look at what is the leading metric that actually affects what we're trying to do here. I mean, we do this all the time of, how many residents live here? Well, that's the result. That's a lagging indicator. What should we measure that leads to more people living here?
Just a point too, Russell's goals were written for a small rural community.
No, they weren't. I wrote them for Rock Island. Yes, I used process I use for rural communities, and the reason it's so long is because rural communities, I'm usually working with volunteers, and so I had to explain everything and say, I put all that in and said, pull your objectives out of what I wrote here. So that is why it's longer than what you're probably used to. So no, the goals were written.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying, yes, you pulled it from the SWOT.
Yes.
It's written as a rural community goal, so that's something that you want to consider between, that's something you want to consider between now and Monday, that you want that goal tailored to an urban community, not to a rural community.
I think you can use it for an urban community. I think a lot of, I've been looking around at strategic plans, and they have a one-liner. Well, if you're concerned about that being too general, that's way too general. So
Right.
it probably makes sense. It's probably very easy to roll off your tongue when you're talking to your constituents and saying, these are our 5 goals, or these are our 4 goals. That makes sense. But so it doesn't bother me if we want to change it and make it more of a one-liner or 2-liner. Perfectly fine. And I will try to play with those on Monday and get them down. I'll keep them, but I'll get an alternative too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can have these, for your planning, but then you can have simplified ones that you use in your community.
Right.
Sure. I mean, this is-
Everyone does strategic planning differently, and, everyone has a different idea what a goal, an objective, an action, or a task, or a strategy is, so. Oh, I'm sorry. So we're gonna use this. Judith, you're gonna work on the economic development one, right?
Yeah, maybe the,
Oh, okay, well, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so Jenny wants to go back, revisit vision and mission statement. So we got our goals, thank you.
yeah,
there. Sorry, I had my little timekeeper, but we weren't gonna get there otherwise.
You are
So,
more than welcome.
thank you
Totally
for
understood.
responding and getting there. These are not necessarily right, okay? I just took what you gave me. No, you can tell them what it is. Well. I'll tell them quick. What I heard with the mission and the vision both, I heard versions that adjusted what you currently have. So I wrote that for both of them with the adjustments. And then keeping in mind they got a little windy, I simplified it. And then I heard new versions, and I actually took the new versions and tried to combine them, right, wrong, or indifferent. So that was my methodology. I'm standing in front of the camera almost all night. Russell, you want to read that?
Sure. Revise existing mission. Rock Island City Government strives to be financially sound and provides quality services to the people, making it a great place to live, work, and play. The simplified version, Rock Island City Government strives to be financially sound, and we provide quality services to all the people of our city.
I could probably eliminate all.
Can we put that up so? I can-
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like the word business in there, but, yeah, okay.
I didn't hear what he said.
You would like the word business in there.
You talk about citizens, and we're not all just about citizens, we're about citizens and businesses.
Say citizens. I said people.
And, okay, semantics.
Yeah, I mean, call it constituents. We have business constituents too.
Yeah, you can have businesses. It doesn't matter to us. And then the new concept, again, taking the three, and I had to simplify it because my brain couldn't do it otherwise. And I kept the name of Rock Island City Government because it is unique identifier, because that's who you are. Rock Island City Government inspires creativity, embraces diversity, and serves our people with quality services. Oh, I don't think I finished. In a fiscally no, that's in the vision. So that's the new concept. Rock Island City Government inspires creativity, embraces diversity, and serves our people with quality services. Our people and businesses, we could do that.
Sure.
And then the vision, want me to put that, where can I put it?
Put it-
On the SWAT stuff.
There, good, Dave. And then go to the one behind it. So then I didn't really simplify the revised existing, I just took edits. Rock Island is a growing city of a vibrant downtown and business districts. Rock Island respects culture, diversity, and its history. Our citizens enjoy livable neighborhoods and places of enjoyment and fun. There were variations on that, but. And then the new concept, Rock Island is a city of service, smart growth, and standards of excellence. Rock Island has a passion for its culture, diversity, and history. Rock Island has equitable amenities for people who live, work, and play here.
I like those.
The new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are fine. I mean,
I
the challenge is actually using those when we come up with our
I would say maybe
action
for the-
steps.
The
Please.
last one, I would say, Rock Island, is committed to equitable, I mean, in terms of like, we have it, but no, it's like, I like it both, Jenny.
Oh, okay.
It's committed, some of those things are in.
I think it reads well the way it is.
I mean, again, what's really useful in a vision and mission statement is that we actually believe them and use them when developing our action steps. Because if we come up with action steps that doesn't have anything to do with equity, why is it in the vision?
And if we're not funding it in our budget.
So, I mean, that's great, but time will tell.
Yeah.
Right.
So am I hearing new concept for vision is what we come back with on Monday?
Yep.
Moses?
I need to think about it. I'm sorry.
Okay, you can, it's okay. Mayor? Well, I guess we'll go with consensus and I'm getting, I think, at least 5 nods.
Yes.
Okay,
I liked it the way it was before, a little before, but I'm okay with it.
I don't know what'd you say?
Jenny,
Can't hear me?
can we leave these up so I can get pictures after?
Yeah,
we're done?
yeah. Well, we have to take them with us, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then the mission,
Looks good.
by people, I also mentally thought about visitors.
Yeah, we know, and it's,
Anyway, like we speak the word fluently well. Yeah.
just use the word customer.
Do we talk about growth in any of them?
Smart, equitable growth.
What growth in population, growth in businesses, growth in revenue?
You did.
Are we embracing the new mission statement or?
Did you guys hear me?
Yeah,
I want you to have this.
I
Okay.
just was
How do you-
asking first, are we on the revised to the existing, or are we moving more towards the new concept? Dylan,
Concept.
new
New
concept?
I think the mayor's question was about growth. and
Yeah, I heard that. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
we were moving to the new concept. So Russell, I'm turning that to you.
Okay, Mayor, what was your question?
Is it the vision or the mission either? I can't remember, and it's a little difficult when I'm doing it from any remote, but do they talk about growth? Growth,
Yeah.
whether it be revenue, growth,
In the
whether it be
vision.
people, growth in business?
Okay, I'm going to read it again so you hear it. Rock Island
Okay.
City government inspires creativity, embraces diversity, and serves our people with quality services. So the word growth isn't in there. We did add, instead of just, and serves our people and businesses.
But that's the mission statement. Growth is in the vision statement.
Yeah, in the vision, growth is there.
Okay, all
So,
right.
yeah, so the vision, the new concept is Rock Island's a city of service, smart growth, and standards of excellence. Rock Island has a passion for its culture, diversity, and history. Rock Island is committed to equitable amenities for people who live, work, and play here.
Okay, nope, you got it in there. Thank you.
Yep,
I'm sorry, I have to run, I have to go pick up my kids.
okay.
But I appreciate you helping us out here, and everyone else's dialogue. I really have appreciated this dialogue. I gotta go.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
I know you have to go pick up the kids.
yes.
Can you be on the phone for the discussion that we have to have yet tonight? Or do you have any input you want to provide before you leave?
Regarding,
City manager search.
Search process.
city manager, bring in Craig Malin so we can ask him questions.
Oh, absolutely not.
That's fine, but that's my,
Absolutely not. Sorry.
I mean, bring the top two in. Let's do it like we did with the long-term community recovery plan and ask them questions. Okay, I think we have completed, so we have our goals, we're gonna do some wordsmithing over the weekend, Monday. And if you have time over the weekend and you're bored, you wanna look at, maybe working on objectives, think about objectives, maybe think about actions. And, we'll have that conversation on Monday night. And hopefully with the staff there, maybe they'll have some really good input regarding objectives, since they're the ones gonna be working on this.
Right.
And I'm sure they've done this once or twice before too, from our long Joseph.
And then probably, once we get to the goals, we would probably divide people into groups to work on objectives to goals. You know, I think it's gonna be too large of a group to work together, and then we can come back together and just add, delete, whatever. Is that acceptable?
The microphone doesn't seem to be working as well anymore.
One over there, you could try that one. It flips around on the podium.
So the goals And the mission vision will come back on Monday. And then, because there'll be department heads, that's a big group to do in a group. So divide by goal, work on objectives. And then, actually, we could do objectives and tactics to goal, and then come back and report back. And then if there's, oh, no, you know, then that can be addressed. And then Russell and I will send you the plan. And good luck.
Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
your assistance.
I swear I have to stand. My father.
All right, we're done with them. We want to give the chief a chance to do his pictures there.
You're hard to hear, Mike.
I'm hard to hear. Hang on, let me try something, see if it's any better. Hang on.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I have to stand.
That any better?
Yeah, that's a little bit better.
You're fine, you're fine.
little bit
You're
better?
doing your job.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had to do mine. I had to do mine also, so this is my first one, so I have to, I don't know how, you know, it's supposed to go.
That's really valuable questions, Moses.
So this is your first strategic plan
City.
for the city? I've done 4 strategic plans since June.
Do you mind if I have the HR director come in case you have any?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize he was still waiting on us.
I mean, I had to do these for, one, my basketball program, the Metropolitan Youth Program, so I mean, I've done them with that, but there's just a lot of stuff I just didn't know with the city, so.
Yeah. So I sit on 4 boards, and I think all 4 of them have done strategic planning since June.
Did the chief go to get the HR director?
Yeah, he's getting them.
Okay.
Mayor, there's still the vote on the Hauberg Estate event.
Yeah, we got the Hallberg and we got 5 and 6 left to do.
Is everybody ready
Yeah.
for the?
Yes.
Everybody?
Oh,
All right.
Well, we could start, yeah.
We could do the Hauberg thing first.
Okay, item number 5.
Report from the city clerk's office regarding requests from Hauberg Estate to close off the north entrance of 24th Street for a vintage football game on Saturday, October 2nd, 2021, from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m., a sound amplification request from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., and the outdoor sale and consumption of alcohol in the roped-off beer garden space for their Oktoberfest event.
Excuse me, Samantha.
Yes,
You said 5 to 7 p.m. for the sound. Is it 5 to 7 or 5 to 11?
I said 5 to 11, I'm sorry.
I just
Thank
want to be
you.
clear.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
So, go ahead, Dave. You
I'm
make it.
sorry, I don't have it in
No,
front of me.
you,
Go ahead.
oh, okay. I move to approve the request as recommended, subject to complying with all liquor license regulations and subject to being shut down early if complaints are received.
Then moved and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Poulos,
Aye.
Alderman Geenan,
Aye.
Alderman Robinson,
Aye.
Alderwoman Gilbert,
Aye.
Alderwoman Swanson.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Okay, item number 6. We got item number 6? Maybe Sam.
Discussion regarding request for qualifications for executive recruitment consulting services.
Okay, there's no motion or anything else, but we have discussion.
So, this is Alderwoman Swanson. I read through them all. I would recommend that we go with hr.gov simply because the cost of that is $23,000. They have experience in our Midwest area, which I feel the Sunshine Group out of Florida did not have. They guarantee that we are happy with the city manager for up to a year, and if not, then they will redo the search at no cost. Craig Malin's group is the least amount. It's $10,000, but the stipulation with that is $5,000 to him unless we hire him as a part-time employee. So I'm not sure if we're looking for a consultant or another employee for the city. A stipulation that we are required to do 2 $2,500 scholarships, which brings the total to $10,000, and I don't think that really has any part to do in finding a city manager. There is absolutely no guarantee on the viability of the city manager and how he will work out with the city. And to be quite honest, being a long-term, multi-decade resident of the Quad Cities, I feel that there are a lot of red flags with the reputation of hiring this person. So I strongly suggest we do hr.gov because I think that they're the most qualified, reputable, and sustainable group for us.
GovHR has the worst track record, especially in the Quad Cities. So there is no way that I would vote for them, nor would I vote for Sunshine, whatever they were. I wasn't impressed with either proposal. I was impressed with Craig's out-of-the-box approach to it. I think I agree with Alderman Parker that we bring him in and ask him questions about his proposal.
I have a concern. I love Mr. Malin's resume. Absolutely phenomenal. But that's not what we're not hiring him to do to become a city manager. We're hiring somebody to help us find a city manager. And my question with Mr. Malin is, does he have the resources to go deep into the available workforce or available candidates so that we get the best possible candidate to go through the interview process? That's my main concern with regard to things in the past. Again, I did some checking on my own. I saw a few things that I think were not exactly accurate. And again, this is like 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm taking that part of it out of the equation. What I am putting into the equation is his number one, does he have the reputation in the community or in that field that he would be able to get us qualified or quality candidates? And would he give us enough, the depth to have the candidates that we would want to interview? Alderperson Gilbert makes a very good point about GovHR. However, there's a guarantee there. And that's again, I do a lot of sales based on warranty. That's a warranty.
I think that also sometimes when we talk about failures, it's not the individual that failed, but sometimes it's the people behind them. We don't know, like in Moline, was it because of the city council or mayor's situation, was it other staff that there was failure? One of them is now in East Moline doing an outstanding job. And so, sometimes it's the network that they're working with, if you want to call it that, or the individuals that could make or break an individual. And there's always any hire, no matter who you use, some people are very good at interviewing, but not very good at performing. And you just make those judgment calls. So that's where, I guess I don't look at those failures, that maybe a few that they've probably had more successes than they have failures. second of all, with Craig, is it a hobby or is it a business? I mean, it's a one-man show. He's got a job. He's a city administrator or township administrator, what do you want to call it now, in Wisconsin. So this is not his full-time job as far as a search person. So how much of the time are we going to get? He doesn't have staff to back him up.
Well, this is Alderman Geenan, and I guess I'd go back to what Alderperson Parker stated. Yeah, I don't know Craig, but from what I read, the data on the resume and the proposal sent to us sparked my interest enough that I'd like to talk to him before we make a decision. Because I don't know. And I guess that's if we're looking for a direction, that seems a consensus I can agree on. We can interview two. But I think we should at least talk to him, because I don't like making accusations or opinions on people I don't know or haven't met.
Well, nobody's making out the acquisitions, but
Not accusations. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. In terms of, I don't have anything to base on his qualifications other than what was written, and it's so out of the box.
Yeah.
I think his further discussion would be great
Yeah, and we're not,
to ask these questions to him.
we're not bringing him in to hire him or to interview him to hire him. We want to get more information. Is that what I understand?
Because perhaps maybe that might be where we want to go in terms of engaging a service to hire a new city manager. That's what I would like to bring it forward. I don't have a decision one way or the other.
I just think this would be a big mistake. I think that we would not get quality candidates. Candidates would view this, because he's not known out there, candidates would view this as a weak city.
You're making assumptions before you've even given him an opportunity to come and answer our questions.
And
Yes, I am, because I do know him. I have talked to him, not just now, I've known him for years. And I've talked to individuals. And so I do know. It's not us making any assumptions.
Well, I've talked to individuals and heard just the opposite, too.
And so I don't know, I don't see what we're saving. What part of the proposal do we like at his that we don't like on GovHR's?
Well, in GovHR, may I remind you, I believe they're the ones who brought us Thomas and Jeff Eder, which did not work out well for the city at all.
But they brought, you can view a lot of things. I mean, once again, at that time, the city council liked the attitude and direction that he was going to bring. He just did not succeed at it. But they brought Doug in East Moline, and he's doing an outstanding job. So you can find individual situations both ways.
But we can't afford to go through what Moline went through. It took them 3 searches with GovHR, then I believe a Baker Tilly search, before they ended up with the candidate,
And you
the
really
city
think it's-
manager
and you
they
really
have
think-
now.
And you really think it's a search firm that did it, not the city that did it, that caused those failures?
I think
You know,
HR.gov has the breadth of experience. They are going to
Yeah.
have the reach to pull people in. They don't have an ulterior motive or an objective other than to get us the best city manager, and that 1-year guarantee is really important.
Yes.
Point.
So if you're not going to allow, what is wrong with, as Alderman Parker suggested, inviting the 2 top candidates to come in and we interview them? We talk to them about their process, ask all the questions we want to ask.
There's, I guess, nothing wrong with it, short of it continues to kick the can down the road and take time. And I know you're going to say, well, what's the hurry? The hurry is that we are going to be without a city manager. And I know we've got a very good assistant city manager sitting there right now, but that's not his full-time job. He has other things he needs to focus on. And we are lacking a CED director and a few other key people, and I don't think that we can afford to keep wasting his time.
There are 4 aldermen who've said they want more information and to hear from Craig Malin.
I haven't heard the four, but, I heard Dylan, and I heard you.
This is Alderman Geenan. I was in favor of talking to two candidates because it doesn't seem like we're on a consensus on one or the other. I can't, so I'm in favor of talking, making a decision quickly, but if we need to have answers, I don't think I can make one tonight.
This is Alderman Robinson. I think it's beneficial for us to just do our due diligence and talk to the two individuals or the two companies. From what I'm hearing, there's a consensus that no one wants the Sunshine Enterprises. So we have Govar and then Mr. Malin. I don't know how much longer in the timetable that will add to allow us just to ask those questions and then just make a decision from there. We understand the timetable that, we will be losing the city manager and, we'll have to have someone in the interim if we don't hire someone. But I think we don't want to rush this either because of the situation or the position that the person will be filling. So I agree. I like the assurances with GovHR, but I'm willing to hear some out of the box type of ideas because with us doing the goals, doing planning, we don't want the same old person that we will have within our departments or leading our department. So I think it's beneficial just to ask the questions, bring them in, ask the questions, and then we make a decision from there.
Mr. Mayor, it seems that we do have a consensus on the council for members present,
Yep.
so.
All right, we will bring him in on the 11th.
Point of order here, he cannot ever make a Monday meeting because he's got his own city council that he has to be at. So we will never be able to have him on a Monday, so it's going to require yet another meeting of council.
I don't know if they meet every Monday, or did you talk to him?
Mr. Tweet did. So he
Okay.
said he would
I
not
know-
be able to come on a Monday because of his council meetings.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was every Monday or not, okay. So, what are people's wishes with that?
I'm sorry,
I
I
suppose
didn't.
if someone's bidding for a job and they're invited on the 11th, that they would like it, perhaps that's not my decision on the conflict of a schedule.
Do you want us to try to confirm to see if he
I mean,
is available for the 11th or
absolutely,
not?
let's talk, see if
Okay.
he's available.
Just so we tentatively had 3 presentations for Monday the 11th for study session, but if we're going to do this instead, we just need to make adjustments, so. One of the presentations was from Jack Collin, and he's got a baby due at the end of the month, so he was trying to get in before that, but, yeah, if you want to try to interview them on the 11th, at study session, we just need to have Rob reach out and see if they can make it on that night. Is that what we're after, or?
That's like, what I'm hearing is we're gonna make an attempt to get both of them the 11th?
I see it as an interview, or not an interview, but a step in the interview. So if we make the attempt to get him here in the council meeting, and if he can't make it, then, we move on.
Okay. All right, we'll make the attempt.
No.
Okay? Are we ready to move on? I think we are at a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Move in second, roll call.
Alderman Poulos.
Aye.
Geenan.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Gilbert.
Aye.
Swanson.
Thank you, everyone. And we will